I just sit
Let
here
me
and wait.
change my volume so it's in my ears, not on my coming out of my speakers. Hold on.
I like how I just wait here like a tool until you're ready to acknowledge that I exist.
I have to approve you from the great beyond.
Right.
We are live on the YouTubes. No one's watching at the moment, but
Hey, YouTubes. I'll get the link and I'll put it on the Discord and on Facebook.
I need to invite Zach. He would like to join us also.
Yeah,
Let me send this to him. There's Zach. There you go. So I had to pick one when I labeled this file. So I just picked history, if that's all right.
What do you mean?
At the very top, it says Spider History, October, November, 1987.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of doing Fight Club first or whatever, I don't know. I just picked one.
Well, knowing you've picked that, and then we'll do Fight Club first, and then you'll take a break, and then we'll do history. So then people will feel like, well, they'll be mad at me because they'll want to see Spider History, and they'll click the thing, and then they'll be like, well, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch George.
I'm not that dumb. All right. The jury's out. I know. Let's go. Hey, can you guys? They've upgraded. Hey, JR, what's up, man? You're not getting older. You're getting better. Hey, and we're twinsies again. Look at that. I only wear this shirt like once a month. It's really kind of funny.
No, I only wear it for shows too. I mean, I don't want to.
It's funny
because after too many washings, obviously then they'll start. Just falling apart. So so it's a very special shirt.
There you
go.
I save it. It's right to your heart, JR.
That's right. Right, my heart, which is about about here.
Three sizes too small. Yes, I know.
That's good. I like that.
What? It seems like it's been forever since we've done one of these.
It hasn't.
It's been a month. It
hasn't been that long.
Here, let me add Zach. Here comes Zach. Zach is coming in.
Oh, geez, Zach's coming in this time.
Zach's going to come in. He's going to try to stream it on Facebook also. Well, there's Zach. What's up, sir?
Hey, this is my first time using this stuff. So this is nice.
Yeah. No, you tested it with us. You just haven't been on the show with us with it.
Yeah, hang on. Let me fix the speaker.
Hello, Sticks YouTubers. Hey, they've upgraded SteamYard. Can you guys see the chat in the right side like I can? Like what the comments are on YouTube live?
Well, I see you're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you.
Oh, okay. I thought they upgraded it that you guys can see it. But anyway. I guess you guys need to have another tab open with the window for the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
By the way, what are we up to with subscribers? Let me hit refresh. Last I looked, we were 11 away from 1,000. We are 10. No, yeah, we're 11 away. Damn it. My math got ahead of me. So JR.
Yes.
I picked history, October and November 87, or you picked it. And Kraven's Last Hunt, right?
We are going to do Kraven's Last Hunt.
Very nice. So let me get some images up to show people. Hold on a second.
I tell you, I hate. I mean, I really. Maybe I'm the only one because I'm old, but I really hate Marvel Unlimited. I mean, the way it works. No. I don't hate the content, but it's always a pain to log on. For example, on my I've got it on my Kindle, for example, and of course they made me sign back in, and that was aggravating. But so I got in. So now, I'm trying to sign in on a laptop here, or not a laptop, but a desktop here, and the Kindle gave me the option of looking for events. So I hit Kraven's Last Hunt, and it brought up the 6 issues.
Yeah.
But here, I don't get the option of events. And then when I type in Kraven's Last Hunt, it wants to take me to a hardback deluxe edition that's not digital. It's like
can't win.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm the only. I mean, you guys. I never hear you guys complain about it, so it must just be me. So
yeah, you're a grumpy old man.
Well, I know, but technology should still work.
Yes.
Whether for young people or grumpy old men. I just don't know why it has to. Unless it's just the fact that the desktop is still using Windows 7. Who knows?
The Smithsonian called. They want their
Windows
back.
back.
Yeah, they want
No, I'm sorry. Actually, no. This is using Windows Vista. I'm sorry.
I thought you guys were about to say they want their mummy back, and JR's son was going to have to ship him back off.
Well, see, here's the thing. I bought this computer for my daughter in 2007. And yeah, I mean, see, it still works. And she
a year after the show started is when you bought this.
Yeah, but see, I have, I've got like a lap. I mean, I'm talking here on a laptop, which I bought a couple years ago. It's got Windows 10 and everything. But the thing is, there's absolutely, I mean, one, I can't download any updates onto this thing, but there's no, so I can't update it. But why get rid of it? I mean,
I know it still works. It's like a car.
Well, I mean, you can't see it. It's got a fairly large screen. That's how I read the people's comments, and it's like,
he needs the large screen so he can read because I mean his eyes are.
I know eyes. These are bifocals.
It's kind of like buying a car that has a cassette player. You're not going to get rid of the car,
Absolutely not.
Just replace. There we go.
Hang on.
Hey Zach, I'm going to send you the stream key on Facebook. Let's see if this works.
Yeah, we're gonna try. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get it to where we stream. Also, just so anybody makes the joke.
Here you go. What joke? All-purpose flour. Hey, hold on a second. Hold on. You deserve. How do I do this?
Oh, great value too. Store brand.
That's not it. How do I full screen Zach?
That's like
full screened. All-purpose flour.
That's like an even worse insult. It's not. It's like Ben Riley's not just flour. He's the generic store brand.
Generic clone.
Great value flour.
Yeah, I actually like Great Value. Some things
I do too. I buy Great Value left and right.
Dude, do you buy Great Value?
This right here is Great Value. It's strawberry watermelon drink.
I drink. I eat Great Value ham all the time for sandwiches. Anyway.
I do Great Value mustard. Now I get Miracle Whip. I'm not a Philistine, but I get Great Value a lot of stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's funny,
dude. Bread is like 88 cents up at the Walmart. Yeah. I mean, it tastes like crap, but it's like a loaf of bread for 88 cents. I mean, I actually went shopping. What?
No. I was going to say we're talking about generics and low and off brands. I mean, you get what you pay for, but honestly, I've always been a spaghetti person. That's my favorite pig out food. My mother would make spaghetti with generic meat sauce, and it was great. It was absolutely great. I don't know how it happens sometimes that occasionally you strike gold, but a lot of times you get what you pay for.
My mother was driving through town once, and she called me and she was like, I need to get some stuff. Do you need to go to the store? And I was like, as it so happens, I have nothing here. Yes, I need to go to the store. So the two of us went up to the Walmart, right, as you do. And we struggled for 45 minutes to find an appropriate parking spot.
As you do.
And then we make it inside, and she's, getting stuff for her. And you ever see the movie Mother with Albert Brooks and Debbie Reynolds?
I know the plot.
Years ago, yeah.
It is hysterically funny. Mm-hmm. All right. And there's a whole thing where they're going through the store together, and she's trying to get like generic store brand everything, and he's trying to get like name brand stuff, and they argue about it, and it is hysterical. My mother and I had the flip argument. Like I'm literally getting everything that's like Great Value, that's store brand, this and that. My mom's like, why don't you just get the other stuff? And she's like, here, I'll pay for it. Just get the normal crap. And I'm like, no, this is the same thing. They make it in the same place. It's like when you buy Magnavox or something else. It's like made in the same factory in Mexico. It's the same thing. Right? Like she and I are going back.
In many cases it is.
Yeah.
It's made all the same. It's made by the same people, the same ingredients. They just, they just rebrand it depending on who's buying it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and so I'm like, look, so we get to the peanut butter. I'm getting the Great Value creamy peanut butter, like in the giant tub.
Yeah,
right.
That you crawl in and eat your way out. Yeah,
for like $4. When if I got the same size of, that Jif does, or like Peter Pan didn't even have the same size. It's like a smaller size for like way more. And she's like, well, just get a couple of the Peter Pan. I'm like, no, this is real value. It's Great Value. It says it on the thing. Look at this. It's tastes the same. And she goes, no, that does not taste the same. I was like, okay, in fairness, no, it doesn't taste the same, but it's fine.
Hello, Matt. What's going on? How are you, sir? We've got Iron Man Jr. is back. No, he's not. We're talking about the real Spider-Man.
Oh, come on.
No, that's fair.
That's fair. We're talking about the 1987 Kraven's coming out of a grave Spider-Man. The Marvel Unlimited web browser is notoriously bad, says Austin Jr.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I have trouble. I just have trouble accessing it.
Yeah.
I mean, once I'm in it, then it works.
Right.
But it's like initially just getting logged in is.
Venkman is watching the 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula on television. Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time.
He just got done watching a Facebook Live video with me doing talking about the brand new episode of Clone Saga Chronicles today.
Oh, that's cool.
Just kidding.
I thought the Clone Saga was over.
Steve, what's going on, sir?
I talked about carrion and the carrion virus.
Carry on my wayward son.
That was the first appearance of carrion. Actually, that was the name of the.
That was the name of this. I remember. Yeah. Most great value sodas are better than the OG, says Austin.
No, that's not.
That's a lie.
That's a lie.
Pack of lies.
Mountain Lightning is not better than Mountain Dew. I'll tell you right now.
Great value is not better than Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, Dr. Thunder is not.
Dr. Thunder. Yeah.
Brad, have you ever thought of doing an interview with other comic book YouTubers? I have not. I try to get like comic professionals if I do interviews. I in the past I've interviewed Spider-Man collectors, hence why JR's here. On episode 3 back in 2006, I had Eric from SamRuby.com. I had JR from SpideyKicksButt.com. I had Zach on it.
Yeah.
SpideyDude.com. And who else was on that show?
That was it. That
was cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, you had a number of guest stars.
I tried to get the guy from that had SpiderFan.org, but he turned me down. Yep.
You just weren't big enough then, I guess.
I guess not. McNulty says you can get better quality from Walmart from digging in the excess bakery bin. Bread is only $1.
We don't even need an excess up at our store. They just got like a giant thing. It's like these massive loaves of French bread. They're like this long, and it's like you get 2 for $2.
Yeah, you do.
And I'm like, that's it. I'll just get this and a tub of butter. That's my Saturday night. Right?
Wow. I'm amazed 14 people are sticking around for us talking about great value from Walmart.
That escalated quickly.
I mean, you guys are some dedicated fans if you're sticking around for this. I mean, my gosh, we haven't even started the show. Chucky says, it's been a while since I watched live. Always listen. George, looks like you've lost weight. Have you lost weight, George?
I have lost weight, actually. I've probably lost at least, I want to say, probably 25 pounds. I'm not real sure.
That's awesome.
But I'll put it this way. Everything that I own to wear is loose now, like
that's
considerably loose. So thank you for noticing. That makes me
really nice.
Really nice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, JR.
I'm trying to get this Facebook stuff going, so just keep talking.
Any luck?
I'm getting there. I had to double check it because I was like, "What the WTF? Why wasn't it working?"
I think in the settings on OBS, you have to change it to where you're streaming it to. I think that.
I got a service Facebook Live, and I've got that. So I'm gonna move. Hang on.
Sorry, I was just testing how I can. Whoops.
I'm gonna move this.
I remove from stream. There we go. That's what I want. I was just testing how I show covers.
Oh God, Brad's pressing buttons.
I am.
Yeah, Brad is pressing buttons, which is
terrifying.
Let's see. McNulty, you sir have good classic movie taste. Even ever see the Spanish version filmed at the same time on the same sets with the only different actors? I didn't know they did that with Dracula. That's probably saved some money back in 31.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's how they roll.
They see you rolling.
Oh, no.
They trying to catch your
no, Brad. God.
What?
No.
JR's singing along? How do you know this?
White and nerdy. They say I'm white and nerdy.
No, that's not. That's Weird Al.
That's the Weird Al version there.
I mean, the Weird Al version is quality. Don't get me wrong. I love me some Weird Al. Raise your hand if you've seen Weird Al in concert.
I've heard he's great.
He puts on a great show. He really does.
So a buddy of mine is a cosplayer, and he's in the 501st locally. And Weird Al was going to Wichita, Kansas. and he has a Star Wars song called Yoda or something. I forget which one it is.
Yes, it's off of his second album in 3D.
Anyway, when he was doing the concert, he put out a request. He was like, I need some Star Wars people in character, in costumes. So my buddy has a Darth Vader suit, and he went on stage with Weird Al in Wichita and performed as on that song. So I thought that was so cool that he got to do that. That was really neat.
Well, Weird Al had more Darth Vaders on his stage that day than Galaxy's Edge has at all. So, if you've been listening to any of the stuff about
that's not doing well. I still want to go ride the ride. I think that'd be fun.
It's a disaster. It's one of those things you wonder, what were they thinking?
What are we talking about, the thing at Disney World?
Well, what's wrong with building a Star Wars land? They have a Harry Potter land.
No, there's nothing wrong with building a Star Wars land, but they didn't populate it with Star Wars characters. You know, you expect to see Vader and Jedis walking around and little robots or whatever, but they don't
have any of that.
No. I mean, I was about to say,
not like Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse walking around. You don't have Vader and
they wanted to create. You're not even on Tatooine, for example. You're on some other world
called California.
Yeah. No, it's you should. I can't do it. You should look it up. I mean, yeah, they created a Star Wars land without anything to do with Star Wars, except they have a Millennium Falcon ride, and that's it. That's all they got.
Really? I thought there was more things to do there.
No, they were working on another ride called Ride of the Resistance, but that was like, that didn't get started from. I don't know if it's even running yet, but if it is, it didn't start right away. I mean, it was still in under construction.
That's disappointing. That means they're going to have like a Marvel world. When you get in there, you're going to have like Imagineering faux buildings for like the Daily Bugle and Rocks on Oil and everything, and then that's it. You're not going to actually see any superheroes or anything.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it's like.
It's just like it's like all the normal stuff from the Marvel universe. You go, oh my God, look, it's a copy of the Daily Bugle. Oh wow, kids, look, but no heroes are walking around.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, Star Wars, like the Star Wars land doesn't even have that. I mean, like I said, say that you're not on any world. You don't go to the cantina and have the aliens play. It's
blue milk.
Yeah, they do have blue milk though.
They do.
Yeah. You could find that in your own fridge though.
I bet that costs like $8. Damn right, they're going to have blue milk.
$8
and build your own lightsaber for $200.
What? Build your own lightsaber for $200?
Yeah.
You can get you get like a flying broomstick over at Harry Potter World for like 200 or 300 or something like that.
Yeah. No way. I'm not buying that.
Disney, I think, is. I mean, I don't know. Some of the travel agents are saying that Disney is finally. They've kind of cracked on the. They've reached the point. They've kind of reached the point on continuing to jack their prices up, where people are just starting to say, "No, I ain't spending that much money."
Well, even when I went out there, the last time I was out there, it was like 2012, right? And I went to go see. I went to go see a chick I knew out there, and wound up, going and getting her, and we went to Disney World and everything. And it was like, even then in 2012, it was like $99 per person.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, do they also agree to kill my enemies if I come to the gates? What?
Speaking of stuff that's really expensive, and Zach, can you mute? I think we're getting some feedback from when we talk.
Yeah. I'm trying.
Have you guys seen these J. Scott Campbell variant Mary Jane Through the Decades covers? I think they're really cool. And today was the day that you could order the variant covers. I'm like, you know what? That would be a neat thing in my collection. Like 5 issues, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and the 2000s. And I'm like, I wonder how much a set of 5 of these J. Scott Campbell covers would cost. And I logged on today, and first off, they were sold out by the time I logged in. They were limited to like 1,500.
Skip it and just put Ava through college.
I know. It was $150 for 5 comics.
So you bought it.
I did not buy it. Even if I wanted to, it was sold out. And it's the same issue. So it's issue 1 of The Amazing Mary Jane with 5 different covers. $150. I mean, he sells them. It was sold out by the time I got there, but my gosh.
Yeah, I guarantee you Muhammad probably bought one.
Muhammad bought them? Did anybody in the YouTube chat buy those J. Scott Campbell Mary Jane covers?
Well, Chi-Town probably would have, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean, isn't that
he got 2 of them, I think.
2?
Oh, really?
How much were 2? Was it like
he didn't tell me how much that was. I talked to him earlier today.
I think it's like $30 or something. I think it's 15 a piece or something like that. Anyway, you can just look at the images on the internet. You don't need the covers. I'm going to get the regular $4 version when it gets in my box. So anyway, those covers are beautiful, but dang. Alas. All right, Zach, can we start?
Yeah, I mean, y'all can go ahead and start.
All right, cool.
I'll work on this. If we get it going, then we get it going.
All right, and JR, just to refresh, I think it started with Web, then Amazing, then Spec. Is that how they order?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Okay, coming down 3, 2. Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to our Spider History for October. Let's introduce the panel. You can't do Spider History without JR. What's up, JR?
Well, hello, everyone, and just to let George know so that he feels old, today we went on a college visit with Spencer.
Oh, wow.
Spencer, he's 18 now.
How? Oh my gosh!
But George, George announced his birth on the old Hero.
Oh my gosh!
I was like the third person to know that Spencer was born.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but yeah, we took him on a college visit to Eastern Michigan University today.
God, that does make me feel old.
Wow. So, how old was he when we started this show? So, 2006.
He was 5, probably 5 or 6.
God, no, I feel old. Jesus.
Wait a minute.
Wow.
He actually made an early
older than he is.
He made an early appearance talking about the Web of Shadows, I think, or whatever. He came. I mean, when we were still audio only, when we realized we had faces for radio.
Yeah.
But and he came on and talked about that, and of course he was, he was Little Spencer, and then later he becomes obviously the young man you see when he occasionally guest stars. So
that's cool. Well. Congrats to him.
Well, your little girl's no longer a toddler.
She's in the 4th grade. She's 9. Yeah.
Wow. Mine is almost 5. She'll be 5. She'll be starting school next year.
That's insane.
I feel like an underachiever because I've never knocked anyone up. I haven't contributed to the gene pool in any way.
Well, you have more disposable income for comics, George.
Yeah. But he doesn't. Yeah.
Anyway, let's still introduce the panel. We've got George. What's going on, sir?
You were wrong. You said something that was incorrect.
What's that? When
you start off, you said that you can't do Spider History without JR. Let's face it. JR's not getting any younger. And, every day with JR is a blessing. God love him. But eventually he's there's going to come a day when he's not here.
So his son is going to his degree is in podcasting to replace the old man. I imagine that's his degree.
Yeah, degree in podcasting. My God,
trust me, boy, you can't pay your rent with podcasting money. I'll tell you right now.
He's struggling between some kind of music related degree or criminal justice, so he may follow in his sister's footsteps.
Yeah, someday the podcast is going to be like me as like really old with no teeth, and it's going to be like Ava and Spencer.
Yeah,
and it's going to be like
and Gabby.
And Gabby, and it's going to be like Chi-Town's kids, and it's going to be them talking and me going,
So maybe there'll be 3D hologram projections so we can go in people's living rooms and deliver this show.
Ooh, maybe they'll have that. Have you seen those?
We'd have to wear pants.
Have you seen that? Raise your hand if you are wearing pants. Yeah. Look, JR, no hands up from JR. No F's are given. JR's like, dude, I'm commando down here. What do you think? I never stand up.
Yeah, I ain't going there. That's for sure.
Oh my God.
Have you seen this, Brad? Because over there in Japan, right? They actually do these like giant concerts with like 3D holographic anime dancing girls. And everyone goes nuts like it's Elvis, right?
Yeah,
these things look like surprisingly lifelike, and now they do them with celebrities, like they do them with Elvis. I think they're about to do them with
Michael Jackson one. They did a Michael Jackson one, and Tupac, I think.
Yeah, and I've seen them do it with like the Gorillas, which are cartoon characters, basically. And so, yeah, basically, like when we're doing the future cast, and it's me as like an old man with no teeth, and it's crawl space generation 2.0. We'll have like
the next generation. Yeah,
we'll have like, you remember that old dancing Spider-Man GIF? We'll have that except as a hologram behind everybody.
All right, man, I'm still getting through introductions. Zach is with us too. Welcome. We haven't had you on in a few months, man.
Yeah. The last time I was on was when Methuselah was a small child, and so therefore,
How long has it been? Like May,
It was
June?
at the start of summer. It hadn't been that long.
May, June.
it just has felt that way because
It
of
has. It has, man.
Instead of hanging out with cool people, I hang out with degenerates all day. So it's kind of
There you go. So I always give JR a choice for spider history. I search through spiderfan.org. They have a nice, convenient organization of what issues came out in what year. And I gave JR some suggestions, and he said, you know what? We've never done Kraven's Last Hunt. We've never done that, and we've never reviewed it. And so let's make that spider history for October and November, because in 1987, it came out for 2 straight months. All 3 issues were the same story. That was unique.
I think it was like, according to DeMatteis, it was the first time it was ever done.
It was. And it was nice because the artwork was the same in all 3 issues.
Yeah, Mike
Zeck art. We had the same writer. And they
George,
probably... Go ahead.
I thought George was going to say something when we mentioned that it was the first time it was ever done. I didn't.
Oh yeah, no, because Brad brought up it was 1987, and I was like, in 1985, Austrian rock singer Falco records "Rock Me Amadeus," because that's an actual line. I'm going to go make more coffee. I'll be right.
So I remember in '87. Oh well, I was going to ask George a question, but all right, he has had enough. JR, I had a subscription to Marvel Comics. They used to come in the mail wrapped like a Playboy magazine. They were in a paper bag.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting all these in '87. How did you get yours? Off the spinner rack, or how'd you get them?
How did I get mine? What was my first time?
For Kraven's Last Hunt.
To be honest, at this point in time, I was not buying Spider-Man comics. I mean,
Really?
As anyone who's listened knows, I've been through periods where I stopped buying them because I was just thoroughly disgusted. And I'm in one of those periods now. I haven't bought one since Amazing #2, frankly. But what happened was when I moved up here to the Cleveland area, and there were several comic shops within driving distance. Because where I came from originally, there weren't. I mean, it was like there was 1 or 2, and that was it. Right. And so I was able to build up my back issue collection, and that's when I got these.
Cool. So. Zach, when was the first time you read Kraven's Last Hunt? You weren't alive in '87.
I was not alive yet. Okay. I was in gestation period.
Okay.
My sister.
Were you born in '88?
I was born at the very end of '87. My sister tried to kick me out, and it was a whole deal.
You had an eviction, yeah.
Yeah. She wanted all the room for herself. It was a whole big deal. I was also 3 months early, so
I didn't know you were a preemie.
Yeah, I was super preemie. 2 pounds 7 ounces and 2 pounds 9 ounces.
Wow.
So, but yeah, no, so I was not yet. I was in gestation. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And George is not here. I want to ask him how he first read Kraven's Last Hunt. But did you, when you first read it, JR? Did you? Well, you have problems with it a little bit, especially the vermin.
I'm excited to be on this episode because I'm excited because JR is going to shit all over this story.
Well, he can. It's a Spider-Man classic, but JR can crap all over it. I know. JR does have problems with this classic, almost universally loved story, but
tune into our Secret Wars podcast.
Yeah, if JR has problems with Secret Wars and he has problems with this, two of my absolute favorite stories of Spider-Man.
I will say this. I remember the day I was at my local comic shop and I was going through the back issues and I came across the 2 ASM issues and I was like, oh, yes! So I grabbed those and then I went over to the Web of Spider-Man box and I was digging through it and they had the 2 issues of Web. So I was like, oh, yes! And then I go to Spectacular, and I'm like, oh, please. And I get Spectacular, and I'm like, yes! And I got all 6 issues.
Nice.
So I still have all 6 issues of this story. I love it.
Very cool. All right, JR, you ready? Let's get how Austin wants to know when we're going to do the Secret Wars review part 2.
Oh, he says this is the Secret Wars review part 2.
Oh, I see. I thought you wanted I thought you wanted to review the Beyonder getting taught how to pee from Spider-Man. We've never done that issue, JR. We need to do that one.
Yeah, we need to do that one sometime.
Okay,
But,
so like Web ship first of the month, and so we're going to talk about issue Web 31. Part 1 is called The Coffin, which has Spider-Man wrapped up in tarp, and it looks like a gun. Kraven's gun is aimed at him with this one. So
yeah, and of course, as anybody who read my articles, which will probably never be updated again, and who's listened to the show, knows that I've never really liked this story.
Oh my gosh!
But boys and girls, we have we're covering 2 months here, so we got a lot to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to do a little bit of reflection, and what I did was I read the story again last night in the hotel room. We'd gone to, like I said, we'd gone to Ypsilanti to see a school today, and I did a little research. And as I was trying to read through it again and take notes, I realized that I can't take enough notes on this thing. I mean, we have to kind of go through this. It's a very rich, layered story, and it's got a very interesting background. In fact, I'm going to actually go to Comic Creators on Spider-Man.
Oh, that's a great book.
Which this is, if you don't have this, boys and girls, it's an essential.
DeFalco did like 3 of those. I think he did Fantastic Four and an X-Men and a Spider-Man one. They're all great.
I kind of learned. I mean, I learned by going through this. I mean, I didn't like. There's a lot I didn't like about Kraven's Last Hunt, but part of that I think is I probably didn't appreciate the reason it's in the style that it's in. But anyway, first of all, this actually started in DeMatteis's. This actually was a Wonder Man story. He wanted to do a Wonder Man miniseries where the Grim Reaper killed him, and then he came back a year later.
Yeah, I remember them.
And wow, that's what is. Oh. George, was that like a big Kirby hand?
Oh, he was out of focus.
I was trying to get the webcam to focus.
Real quick, George. First time you read Kraven's Last Hunt, we were going around the panel
when it was released.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I was actively reading back then.
Yeah, same.
I'm one of the 3 people that was
spinner rack or subscription. I had a subscription.
No,
came in the mail.
Actually, 87. Yeah, it would have been a subscription. I had a subscription through Mile High Comics.
Oh, there you go.
Oddly enough, yeah, they had a big subscription service back then, and that was how my dad. That was how my dad made sure that I kept my grades up. Because if my grades fell below like a B average.
Oh wow! You got your comics taken away, huh?
Yeah, I lost my comics. So,
wow.
which meant that that month, if I lost my comics, I had to go and go to Lone Star here and instead and get them off of. Back then they'd have spinner racks at Lone Star. They just put them up on a shelf, which is pretty much what they still did into the 2000s.
Yeah. So J.R. DeMatteis originally wanted this to be a Wonder Man story. And the Grim Reaper.
The Grim Reaper killed him. Wonder Man regenerated a year later, and then he had to go through the story, pick up the pieces of losing a year of his life. And DeFalco rejected it. So DeFalco didn't like the story. He rejected it. So then when DeMatteis was approached by DC, he thought of the same idea as a Batman story. He wanted to do, and again, none of this is original. This is all in this. This is, like I said, a great reference source. And he pitched as a Batman story with Hugo Strange as the villain. Strange would kill Batman and then take his place.
Oh,
well,
God.
What's that?
Hugo Strange replacing Batman?
Yep.
That's
it's weird. Yeah. Every now and then when they do something extreme in Batman, a lot of times it centers around Hugo Strange.
Mm. Well, I mean, he does have the name for it. But at that time, and this like DeMatteis says, he says this is kind of tells you the difference between the comic industry now and then is that he originally pitched it as a graphic novel, and DC said, "Well, we only do 2 Batman graphic novels a year, so come back next year," and pitched the same idea. And then at that,
we hate money, so we can only do 2 of those a year.
Yeah.
And but then Jim Owsley called him. And and ask him to work for Marvel, whatever. And so actually this was before DeMatteis became a regular writer, and I'll kind of get into why the story's the way it is. But one of the things, again, I think DeMatteis is a very, very, very good writer. I really do. And I think one of the highlight periods of Spider-Man that I enjoyed was the post-Clone Saga period when DeFalco was doing Amazing, Mackie was doing Peter Parker, and DeMatteis was doing Spectacular. And then there was Sensational, which was kind of the, I think Saga was doing that one or whatever. Yep. But anyway, the other 3 books I thought were very strong. It was a very good, but unfortunately the sales were going just into the toilet. So anyway, DeMatteis brought the story to Jim Owsley. Jim Owsley liked it. But I think that DeMatteis was going to create a new villain, and Owsley said, well, no, you need to use it'd work better if you used a classic Spider-Man villain instead of coming up with somebody new. So DeMatteis did his research, and he came across Kraven, who I had always thought as Kraven as one of the dopier Spider-Man villains. And which is funny because when you think about it, Kraven's Last Hunt really is the first story. I think this is one reason why this has resonated with a lot of people is because Kraven was kind of a joke villain. I mean, he was definitely B-list, B-minus list, a Most Dangerous Game knockoff. He'd be brought in, and, hunt Spider-Man. Spider-Man would kick his butt, and that would be the end of it. Kraven's Last Hunt was the first story, I think, to really give Kraven a strong background and motivation. So I think that's one reason why.
I'd agree with that.
So anyway, I had always thought of Kraven as being one of the dopier Spider-Man villains, but this handbook entry, he was looking at the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, talked about him being this tormented Russian soul. And I suddenly saw his tremendous potential. I love the psychological and spiritual struggles in novels like Crime and Punishment and the Brothers Karamazov, and I saw Kraven as this wonderful Dostoevskian character. And this explains kind of why the story is as dark as it is. DeMatteis is saying, I was at a really bad place in my life and dealing with my own Dostoevsky problems. And if Dostoevsky was a famous Russian writer who his mother died early, which Kraven's did as well. He originally was an engineer and lived fairly well, but then he started hanging around the wrong people. He hung around a bunch of banned Russian novels. And so he got he was originally sentenced to death, and but they commuted it to 6 years in exile in Siberia. So Dostoevsky.
Is this like the Russian version of like the Algonquin Round Table?
It's fun. I mean, it's without getting Russia has a very interesting history. I mean, it's interesting. It's no wonder they have a very different perspective than us. They've never been a democracy.
Russia has a very bloody history.
Very bloody. I mean, between the czars and the communists, and now So Dostoevskyism is kind of associated now with gloom and doom and bitterness and anger and very deep, dark places. So anyway, and then so DeMatteis is saying that's why this particular story is so dark, and that he didn't today now he didn't think he could write something like this. So, but anyway, that's kind of part of the background of Kraven's Last Hunt, and probably explains a little bit about DeMatteis's writing, which again, like I said, I think he's a very good writer, but he does I think tend to go to way too deep into the well sometimes with the psychological stuff. But anyway, okay, for October we're going to do the first 3 parts of Kraven's Last Hunt.
Yeah,
and if my Kindle will cooperate and stop trying to sell me Vegas slot game apps. Basically, we start this off. Kraven is in his townhouse, and he's doing and thinking all kinds of sinister things. He's walking around, he's prowling around, and he's beating up stuffed trophy animals, more or less. And in the background, as he does this, and by the way, he's butt naked for any of those who really are interested in those things. Anyway, periodically, we're going to see this bald guy digging a grave. All right. And you've got, and one of the things that just hangs over this story is death. Death is a constant companion on every page of the story for reasons we'll get into. But anyway, so Kraven now is reflecting on how old he is. and that his family was exiled from Russia when they kicked all the aristocrats out or killed them during the Communist Revolution. And of course, he's kind of going through one of those, well, civilization is so barbaric, and the only honor that there is the jungle or whatever, and I've lived too long, and my time has passed, and it's my time to die, but not just yet. And when he says this, he's gone to a coffin. He's got a coffin all set up. It's his townhouse. He's always got like a church with the stained glass windows and everything. He's got an empty coffin, and in it is a Spider-Man costume. And this is a black Spider-Man costume. So, so anyway, so now we get to Spider-Man, and this is one of those things where I think, and when I first approached this, one of the reasons I didn't like it was because here we have this character that Spidey is so torn up about, Joey Face, not Joey Z. We're not going to who, but Joey Face was this thug who Spider-Man used, 2-bit thug who Spider-Man uses as an informant. Of course, we've never heard of him before. All right, never heard of him before, but all of a sudden now, this guy has died, and we're at this dive bar where the bartender and a bunch of other marginal, thugs and things are having to, put this guy in, they scraped up enough money to put this guy in a wood box, and they're all kind of saying, well, this is the best we could do for you, dude, or whatever. And for some reason, Spider-Man is feeling guilty about this guy's death, who, of course, we've never met before. But again, I think that probably goes back to the fact that really it should be looked at as a standalone novel, maybe, and not so much as. But anyway, so Spider-Man, pops in, because he wants to pay his respects. But of course, all these other guys, since they're 2-bit crooks, it's, oh my God, it's Spider-Man. But see, and this is where we're getting to, Spider-Man says, oh, they're all afraid of me. They don't think I'm a man, that I'm a monster, and they don't realize that I'm just a man. I'm just Peter Parker, and so he comes to, pay his respects and throws a few bucks in the, throws a few bucks there to contribute to Joey Face's little mini funeral. So, so now he's really reflecting on this, and he's also reflecting on Ned Leeds' death, because as you recall, not too long ago, we had Spider-Man Wolverine #1, where Ned Leeds was murdered. And then Peter David in issue 289 of Amazing decided to make Ned the Hobgoblin.
Right.
Well, apparently that was intended as another fake out. But David got, either he left the title, got kicked or whatever. Anyway, then they decided to make it for real that Ned was really the Hobgoblin. So anyway, so that's weighing over on Spider-Man 2. And, so Peter goes to his apartment. Mary Jane's not there. Peter goes to his apartment, strips off down to his underwear. And of course, we have a nice picture of Peter laying on bed in just his underwear, for those of you who are in that kind of thing. Kraven's naked and Peter's sitting around in his underwear. I mean, I guess, it's funny. I could never be an artist, I suppose, because I have absolutely no fascination with the naked male body. I just don't. So I guess I could never be an artist, But so Peter, there's a spider crawling on the wall, and Peter's turning off the lights. But then we go to a scene of Kraven jumping into a bunch of spiders and eating them. And then you have the green drool, because he's eating the spiders, and they're all juicy and crunchy, and he's eating them and drooling. And then Peter wakes up from a nightmare, and he sees a spider, and he goes, spider, and smacks it against the wall and squishes the spider. You can't get an idea, what we're in for. We're in for kind of a head trip.
This is a dark spider tale.
So Spider-Man starts swinging around. He's, I'm thinking about Joey Face. I'm thinking about Ned Leeds. And he's also thinking about his own mortality at the time, too, which I suppose is normal. He kind of wonders, well, all the people in my life I've known who have died, who's next? Aunt May, Mary Jane, me. So then Kraven shows up, and Kraven hits him with a dart, poison dart, which drugs Spider-Man. And again, more panels of this bald guy digging a grave. And then Kraven zaps him, hits him with a net, captures him in the net. And, of course, Spider-Man, being drugged or whatever, he says, this isn't like you, Kraven, because Kraven brings out a rifle. And it's like he's going to shoot him. And it's like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Kraven, we're supposed to go mano a mano. And then Kraven just shoots him dead, I mean, it looks like he's dead. And the last scene is Kraven and some of his cronies or his staff or whatever. They're all around a coffin. Spider-Man's laying in there prostrate like a dead guy. And they put Spider-Man's coffin into the hole, and Kraven starts spading dirt on it. And that is the end of part 1.
That's how you start a first chapter. I mean, that's awesome.
Spider-Man is dead as a doornail. So,
what did you think of that, JR? After chapter 1, Spider-Man's in a grave.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, okay, but nobody ever dies. You know better. I mean, you know better than that. I mean, it's a curious. You wonder, okay, where are they going to go from here? But again, Spider-Man's not going to die.
Anyway, that was a good cliffhanger, I thought.
But yeah, I mean, as far as comic book cliffhangers go, absolutely. I mean, because at that point in time, you don't know what Kraven has shot him with, and they bury him. They bury him, and so he looks like he's dead. Classic comic book cliffhanger.
Yeah. It's important to know, because you brought up the moment where they all pitch money together and get a pine box for somebody. That's not unlike what we'll do with Zach one day.
Oh man, guys over there just enjoying life, and
I just wanted to see if he was listening.
That's let's see here. Glenn Clark, JR not liking something post 1970, shocker. I'm assuming you're just talking metaphorically, because that's not true.
Yeah, that's not true. JR's like the highlight of Spider-Man for JR is in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Just because I'm trying to get this thing to work on Facebook Live doesn't mean you can insult me there, Berryman.
It's all good. Regarding Kraven's last time,
and for the record,
let JR talk. JR is about to say something. Zach.
Yeah, McNulty. Well, Peter did just get married, of course. Yes, we're going to get to that, because Mary Jane's going to show up here pretty soon. So anyway,
go ahead, Zach.
That was into part 1.
Well, JR just said he really enjoyed the post-Clone Saga pre-reboot era of the 1990s. So I'll defend JR on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, one of the criticisms is that we don't like stuff that we don't like stuff that's newer than when we lived in our mother's basements or whatever. And that's an odd criticism. That's never been. I mean, we'll like stuff that's good. I mean,
yeah. I mean, most of us have liked the last year.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been praising Nick Spencer to the skies. I mean, it's not always been for me, but George, you're one of the toughest critics there, and you thoroughly enjoy this run.
I am.
Real quick,
it was just that one more day and Brand New Day were just crap, folks. I mean, I'm sorry, but it was just crap.
Yeah. Real quick, our friend Chi-Town just sent me a text. He's watching. He says the 2 J. Scott Campbell Mary Jane comics were $50. And that's with the VIP discount of 15% off, and the taxes and the shipping kill you. Woof, that's expensive. We were talking about that at the top of the show.
Dovetailing off what JR just said.
Yeah.
About people saying that, you guys don't like anything past such and such date. To reiterate, we like things that are good. When you have almost a decade where Spider-Man is almost unreadable because of how badly the writer does not understand the character on fundamental levels, that's not on us. That's on them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I'm thinking of, again, to my old articles or whatever. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed, I think it was, I want to say 2004, for example, the year that Mark Millar's 12-part Spider-Man story. I like that. It had problems as a story. I like, Straczynski was writing amazing, and he was hit or miss.
Straczynski had great moments and bad moments.
Yeah.
But he had, when he was fantastic, he was up here, and when he was terrible, he was down here. Mm-hmm. But Straczynski, I still think to this day, aside from Spencer's doing a really good job of it now, but before him, for my money, Straczynski wrote The Marriage better than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
He really did.
Uncle Rizzo
made better. Yeah.
Uncle Rizzo.
I'm sorry.
Uncle Rizzo on YouTube chat says, as an 11-year-old and pretty new to the hobby, I thought Spider-Man was dead. I love Mike Zeck's art also.
Oh,
JR, I don't know if you can really grade them by chapters, but A out of me on this one. I mean, A for the whole story, but did you like this back in the day?
I would rather wait until the story's told.
Okay.
I mean, I honestly, yeah. I mean, we're kind of looking at this, in
Chapter
two
by
segments.
chapter, yeah.
In October and a November segment. So,
Okay.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, if you're into a mood piece, okay, and if you're into, I mean, first of all, I think another thing we need to look at too is I'm sure that probably one of the reasons this resonates with a lot of you all is how different it was artistically at that time. I mean, because we had just got done with Hobgoblins. I mean, basically we were Hobgoblin stuff, Gang War stuff, the Rose,
Secret Wars,
Secret Wars 2, comic booky stuff. I mean, comic book stuff.
Yeah.
This was very different. I mean, this was probably in '87 or whatever. This probably hit you like a hammer or something. It was
very dark.
And Mike Zeck's art is, it's funny because I used to. And one of the things I'm
curious if you like Mike Zeck's art because he also penciled Secret Wars. What? So if you don't like this story and you don't like Secret Wars, you got a problem with Zeck.
No. Here's the thing. What Secret Wars? We kind of got to put Secret Wars into a different box because it was a very unique story for a very unique purpose and reason at the time.
That's a very diplomatic answer for you.
Yeah. But Secret Wars started out but here's the thing. Secret Wars started out as a toy commercial. Kraven's Last Hunt started
Transformers and G.I. Joe and everything else.
So did Kraven's Last. Oh no, wait, it didn't.
Kraven's Last Hunt started as a story, as a character story. So really, we're not even talking about the same things.
Okay,
but no, I mean, I like I used to say when Bendis and Bagley were doing Ultimate that the real author was not Bendis, it was Bagley. One, because there was so little dialogue, and actually some of these issues of Kraven's Last Hunt reminded me of that. There's not a lot of narrative or dialogue in some of these issues, and so Zeck's art in this is really this is one of those where the artist is as much of a creator.
Oh yeah.
A creator. I mean, it seems silly. Well, of course they're a creator with this, but no, I think this is one case where you look at where the art is as important to the story as the narrative.
Yeah, I can't envision this story with a different artist. Right. I really can't. Maybe because I've been reading it for 30 years. But
I just brought this up in the YouTube.
Maybe it might
chat.
be a Dono, but
I just brought this up in the YouTube chat. But I'll say it here too. Like Brad and I are giant fans of Mike Zeck.
Yep.
We really are. Like we loved like his work on the Secret Wars for sure, but also his work on the Punisher.
Oh, the first Punisher miniseries. Oh
my God!
That classic Captain America annual with him and Wolverine slashing the shield. Yeah. Oh, love that stuff.
Mike Zeck is just fantastic.
I had so many Mike Zeck posters up in my room. I have Captain America Mike Zeck poster. I got Punisher posters.
Okay, anyway. Actually drawn by Mike Zeck, right? You don't have like posters of Mike Zeck,
Just Mike Zeck, posters of Mike Zeck hanging out of his artboard, like,
we're posting like I had to get worried there for a minute,
He's laying on the couch with a Marvel Treasury over. That's Stan Lee.
He's doing those glamour shot, kind of poses like.
All right, let's get to the next issue. Part two. We're going to Amazing for this one, if memory serves.
Yep. Okay. We're going to Amazing Spider-Man number 293.
Okay.
And to start off, I mean, gotta give props. The very first page, a full page splash of Spider-Man's, and I know that you can't see this with the glare, but Spider-Man's headstone. Here lies Spider-Man, slain by Kraven the Hunter, and there's a rat, and of course that's. A foreshadowing of the third player in this, which is one major reason I do not like this story.
I was about to say, just another one of JR's favorite characters.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. So anyway, so the next.
This chapter is called Crawling.
Yeah, the next page is Spider-Man apparently standing by his own grave, and he takes the mask off, and it's Kraven maniacally laughing. So where are we going?
Real quick, Zach, are we getting some feedback on you? I think we might be getting some feedback, or maybe it's me. Anyway.
Hang on just a second.
Okay, maybe mute if you don't mind.
Let me... I'm trying to get the...
I don't hear the feedback now. That's weird.
It's probably Zach. Whenever something goes wrong, it's almost
always you guys get...
It's a true story.
Maybe this is why he doesn't come back for months.
Oh, damn!
It's like the dog that ran away. You're like, what? You don't like the food? I mean, anyway, go ahead.
Mr. McNulty has chimed in, and keep in mind this was pre-internet, pre-death of Superman. Kraven shooting Spider-Man was a legitimate shot.
It was. So, we weren't so jaded fans in '87, were we?
Well, this is an important thing to note. Remember, like at this time in history, this sort of dark story was the exception.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
And Batman, True. Dark Knight Returns had already happened.
86.
And that was shocking at the time. But at the time still, this is only a couple of years past. This was still the exception to the norm. Like that was not, we didn't really get into this until like the later 90s, where like everything had to ape that. Everything had to be grim dark, like the darkening of the darkness, like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then it became hip and cool. It didn't become an important element of the storytelling. It became something of itself to do.
It was almost a form of parody. You had all these writers trying to ape Alan Moore without a fraction of the talent.
JR and I often like to talk Star Trek. Kraven's Last Hunt has been aped a lot, and so has Wrath of Khan. People like to try to recreate Wrath of Khan a lot,
including Paramount,
including Paramount with the insert. What is it? What is that one called? Into Darkness.
Into Darkness.
Into Darkness. Yeah.
One of the worst.
Anyway, I was about to say,
happen.
I don't want to. I don't want to get on right now. I don't want to get off on a Star Trek conversation because I'll tangent badly. Anyway, the next here we start. The next page is some young woman who's running in the rain. A rat gets in her way, and she falls to the ground. And then we see a sewer, the manhole cover coming off, and a hand grabbing and pulling her down. And then we get another shot of the grave, Spider-Man's grave with the rat on it. And then we find out that this young lady is down the sewers, and she is confronted by vermin. And of course her smell is just intoxicating, and the sweet smell is less of a stink worse than mine, but oh, how they like. And this is part of what I'm not liking here. This dialogue is just so on the nose.
If I did have a complaint of this story, it's the vermin factor.
Keep reading, JR. I was almost there.
Keep reading. I was almost there. Keep reading. Anyway, but how they like to pretend they're better than me, and then it's like, okay, this is getting. I mean, okay, is he a rat man or is he a 12-year-old schoolboy?
Yes.
And so then of course. It's because of them that I have to hide down here. Them and their funny clothes and their sweet smells. Yum, yum, yum. Okay. But then the story picks up because we get Mary Jane. And of course, Mary Jane is...
She's a newlywed. She's a newlywed.
What? No, she's not. No, she's not,
what?
Brad. She's not. Somehow, I thought being in a committed relationship would be a little different.
Shut up. Shut up.
Ever since One More Day, it was kind of like the Doctor Strange spell. Everything has gone back, and all the source material has changed. So there's no references to marriage. It's like committed relationships. Okay.
No. Don't do that. Then Quesada wins. We don't want that. We can't have that.
It's like, but of course that requires someone to snuggle up with, and my partner isn't here. My husband isn't here anyway. So, but now this is, she's worried about, again, she's realizing that, she knew what she was getting into, but, this is forcing her to confront the reality that there may be a time that Peter just does not come home. But then, of course, we have to really drill the symbolism in because when she starts thinking about maybe Peter's dead, then he sees a rat.
Yeah. And
she attacks and kills the rat with her boot. And then we go back to Spider-Man's grave. And then we see Kraven, the spider lies in the grave 100 miles from here, down in the darkness. So we get all kinds of Kraven's dark thoughts. And now, and here we go. So now I see through the spider's eyes. I wear the spider skin. I growl. Now I am the spider. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Mm-hmm.
I am the spider.
I am someone that just covered the shrieking story arc written by J.M.T. Mateus. Yes, the very end of that was his very short run as I am the Spider.
Yeah, and again, I guess we have to look at it instead of the context of all these years. We have to realize this is the first time it was done. Now, when you go back and you read "I Am the Spider," you think, "Oh my
Clone Saga." Yeah, he's in a web
Clone Saga. Yeah, where he cocoons and he eats a sloppy Subway sandwich and the tomatoes all fall out. And this is supposed to show how dark he has become. You know, it's like it's
Man,
stuff that you just got to.
If a Subway sandwich exploding on your shirt is going dark,
She said.
So anyway, Kraven. Anyway, we go down to Kraven goes out in the basement and he's got a cage or with a glass aquarium or whatever. It's not an aquarium, but it's full of spiders, and apparently he has squeezed the juice out of all these spiders because what he's doing is he's put it in a bowl and he's on his knees, hands and knees, and he's lapping spider guts up with his tongue like a cat. Okay.
Oh, Zach, never do that again. Stop it.
Don't question drinks and, my metamorphosis. I must merge with the spider, and let the spiderness in. And then, of course, he realized, this is really gross stuff.
Yes.
But then he feels pain. Not sure. It's like he's got a heart attack.
Listen, JR, we don't kink shame here. Okay.
We don't what?
We don't kink shame up in here, up in the crawl space.
Kink
shame.
Kinky.
Oh,
Kink shame. We don't kink shame up in here.
I see.
Wow.
And how people
And here is the line of PG-13.
How people
So he
want to
started-
live.
Welcome to the line of PG-13. I agree.
So and now we start getting into Kraven talking about his father. Then we find out that Kraven has daddy issues. Okay. Honor for dignity, for all your father bequeathed you, pain. My father, a pompous fool, a Russian nobleman exiled and living in poverty in America, too attached to what was to ever see what is. And okay, here we go. Got another supervillain who's got daddy issues. So he smashes this glass cage with all the spiders, and then the spiders start to congeal, and they congeal into one giant spider. And then we go back to Vermin, and Vermin is eating this woman's that he kidnapped earlier, her corpse. Lick, lick, lick the fingers. Goody, good, tough, tasty. Okay, now. This is a big problem with me.
Winding up, here comes the pitch.
Here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, if at the end of the story, this character is not dead, the story has failed. This character should die.
Vermin.
This is a horrendous, gross crime. There's no Baron Zemo bullshit, or anything like that. This character should be dead at the end of the story. That's what this character deserves.
I remember after they killed Baron Zemo after his cannibal story. Oh, wait.
Did he have one?
No.
Baron Zemo transformed him. I mean, this is the excuse for why he is.
It was called Zemo's Last Hunt. It's a 17-parter coming next year from Marvel.
I predict from 2020 to 2025, Marvel will
there
have
was a death. There was the death of Vermin story that ran in Spectacular.
He's still around, isn't he? I don't think
Marvel will have an anthrophagia phase.
Yeah, he
where
was just
cannibalism is very
stuff.
huge.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was a metaphorical death, Douglas. You don't understand. You obviously missed that story where Baron Zemo shows up and Vermin is there with all of Zemo's crazy creations that he came up with. That was like with that beautiful Salbusima art. It was like 195 through 196 or something, or 193 through 196 or something like that.
McNulty says in YouTube chat, it should also remind folks of Superior Spider-Man. After all, Kraven's Last Hunt did a better Superior Spider-Man than all the issues of Superior Spider-Man combined, where Peter was essentially replaced, etc.
Well, that's an interesting perspective.
Okay.
All right.
So he's
eating
the corpse. Yeah.
Yeah, he's eating a corpse. So it's like, okay, like I said, this character deserves to die. I mean, I'm not interested. See, I have no empathy for this character. I never will. All right. So anything you're trying to do with this character is completely lost on me, which is another reason I hated The Child Within. Okay. But then, okay, so he sees after he's gone through the main course here and is licking his fingers, he happens to see an old newspaper and he sees a picture of Spider-Man, and so he freaks out, because he remembers Marvel Team Up number 128, where Spider-Man and Captain America beat the crap out of him.
Oh yeah.
All right, so now
that was the photograph realistic cover, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I remember that one.
This one right here.
Yep, there it is.
Yes,
that's awesome. You have that right on hand. That's nice.
I do my homework.
Oh, look at you.
Allegedly.
I do my homework. I don't make shit up.
That's a good one, JR. That's a good one.
Don't ever change.
Meat. What was the line from Vermin?
Tip your waitress, folks. Tip your
lick,
waitress.
lick. The fingers, yeah. Good. All right,
anyway,
go ahead.
Can you not, Douglas?
So he sees the Spider-Man picture. He goes, "Oh no, that's Spider-Man!" Bad man, very bad man, crawly man, insect man. He hurt me, yesterday, forever ago. Him and that other nasty soldier, man with red, white, blue Captain flag, Captain America. Anyway, so Vermin.
Can you mention Dumb Hulk and this guy having a conversation?
Kind of like Forrest Gump and Rocky Balboa having one.
Hey yo, lick. Adrian, I like these chicken wings.
Oh no. No.
I wasn't. I didn't mean it that way.
You're a damn monster, Douglas.
I was talking like they were eating dinner, and you guys, took it really farther. Oh my god!
And we have now officially crossed the line.
What happened to George?
He's vomiting. He didn't even hear the joke.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead. Adrian.
So anyway, Vermin's feeling sorry for himself. I'm not afraid of anyone. I'll rip those two to pieces. I'll chew them up. And so he decides to. Well, he thinks about crawling out of his hole, so he lifts up the manhole cover, but then sees a spider, and clank, it shuts down again. Mm-hmm. And so now he runs, and quiet. We don't want them to hear us. We don't want them to hurt us. And he kills a rat, starts eating it.
Man, there's a lot of rat deaths in this one.
Yes, yeah. But then again, New York has plenty to spare. Trust me. And so does Washington, D.C. But that's another story.
Oh,
hello. No. This is legitimate. The first time I went to Washington, D.C., I was a younger man in the early 90s. And
in the early 90s, you were a younger man. That's funny.
He was 62, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
It was the early 90s. JR had only been in the AARP for 20 years.
I went to my first retirement seminar. But no, I had gone to Washington, D.C. And again, a boring background. I grew up in southwestern Indiana. My father was one of those guys who almost never got more than 50 miles from where he was born. And I never went anywhere. Sorry, I think going to St. Louis to see a St. Then Cardinal game was that was like going to Europe.
You've been to Missouri? And you just called it like going to Europe?
Back then, yeah, but then I started meeting people who really came from there, and I realized that, well, anyway. But so going to Washington D.C. my first time, I thought I was Disneyland, and so I go out.
So what did you think? It was going to be like the Hall of Presidents, like an animatronic Lincoln.
Look. Okay, look. I grew up surrounded by farmland and strip mines. Okay, so when I go to Washington D.C. and I see the Lincoln, when I saw the Lincoln Memorial in person for the first time, I was stunned. I just absolutely was flabbergasted.
Mr. Fettinger Goes to Washington, starring Jimmy Stewart.
Did you think it was a giant robot and it was going to stand up and start moving around?
Like in that Captain America issue?
or it was gonna turn into General Thade, right, or something
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway,
It's like
the
Monkey
story,
Lincoln.
getting back to the rats. All right, so I'm standing out in the balcony. I'm standing out in the balcony in my hotel room, and I'm just kind of, it's a nice day or whatever, and I'm thinking, wow, a little country boy here. I'm in Washington D.C. and stuff, and I looked down and I realized that I'm over the
John
garbage.
Denver. I'm a country boy.
Yeah.
I'm a country boy.
I'm over the garbage.
Thank God
and then
I'm a
I look,
country boy.
and then I see a rat. I mean, and it's a big sucker. And then I see another one, and it's like, and then they're just. It's like, holy crap. I mean, here I am in the nation's capital, and just literally right below me is it's literally infested with rats. So anyway, that's the story. Anyway,
I thought that went a whole different direction. I thought this was about to segue into some kind of, like what happens in Mexico stays in Mexico kind of song. Like,
it wasn't political commentary or anything like
well,
that.
George, you missed the bit about licking and.
No,
I've been hearing it all night long. I've been hearing it for like the last half hour.
No, no, this was different. Anyway, so the moral of JR's story was, as a young man, he learned that there's a lot of rats in Washington in more ways than one. Okay.
Anyway, so back to the story. Back to this story. Mary Jane, of course, is fretting about Peter. So, later she'll start smoking as a result. But now she just goes out walking in the rain. Let's see here. And so a couple of guys, start catcalling or whatever, real dirtbags or whatever. Hey, tight pants, come and show us your red hair, and of course, Mary Jane tells them literally, get stuffed.
Yeah.
They don't take too kindly to that. Anyway, so Kraven now is fighting this. We go to Kraven, and he's fighting this giant spider that's made up of all kinds of little spiders, and he's fighting it, and he's thinking that he's it's symbolic of his fight with Spider-Man, and so and then vermin starts coming up from the sewers. Oh Lord, I mean, and that's what it is. We go back and forth between Kraven and vermin and their deep dark thoughts and things of that nature. We go back to Mary Jane, and the thugs are approaching her, and they're going to, obviously they have deviant things in mind. And, as they throw her up against the wall, and it looks like, we're doing one of the scenes in the first Spider-Man movie,
right.
The Sam Raimi.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Mary Jane looks up and she starts smiling, because she thinks she sees Spider-Man. She sees Spider-Man, thinks that it's Peter. But unfortunately, this Spider-Man is a little more brutal than Peter is, and smashes one guy's face against the wall, and then just beats another one to a pulp without, far in excess of what it takes to subdue him. And as he goes away, then Mary Jane realizes that was not Peter. Yeah. So anyway, so Vermin now he's climbing out of the sewer. He's hungry. He needs to eat. He's not afraid, not one bit. I think I'll find some food. Yum. Okay. We go back to Spider-Man's tomb. And I think that was it. Yeah, that was the end of part 2.
Yeah.
That was the end of part 2.
Spider-Man was not in the story. Peter Parker was not in the story. Yeah.
Not at all.
Okay. So you ready to wrap this one up with part 3, Descent?
Yes, we'll go into part 3. Hang on here. Go back to
we're going
part 3, Descent. Peter Parker. Yep. The Spectacular Spider-Man number 131.
Yep.
Continuing the 6-part saga.
Yep.
All right. Come on. Okay. Anyway, so Kraven starts trying being Spider-Man. We see him busting up, trying to think if it looks like a drug deal or an arms deal or a little bit of both. But anyway, so he comes in, busts everybody up, but he also kills somebody. So this is going to start something else now. With Spider-Man being dead 2 weeks, everybody thinks that Spider-Man has gone crazy. So then we get, let's see here. Kraven is, I hunted the spider as the spider hunts. I have consumed the spider's prey. I have proven myself his superior in every way. No, almost every way. The final proof comes. Well, then we have another woman who's dragged away and eaten by vermin. Yum, yum. And that's what it literally says. Let's see here. She says, so what if there's a lunatic out there on the streets killing people and then eating them for breakfast, and she's pulled into a corner, and then we just see yum. Yeah. Again, this character should be dead by the end of the story. So Vermin decides to beat up some police, but he but there's an important distinction. As he's about to kill them, he realizes that one of them is a black woman, which, as we later learn, I don't know if we know this yet or not, but as we later learn, Vermin's mother was black. His father was white and his mother was black. So this police woman reminds him of his mother, so he decides not to kill her. But then we go back. Now, see, we've been going back to Spider-Man's grave back and forth, and now spiders are, it used to be rats crawling around it, but now the spiders are crawling around it. More symbolism here.
Mm-hmm.
The next couple pages are actually interesting from a perspective of the longtime fans who always wondered at this time whether or not Joe Robertson knew that Peter was Spider-Man, because here it is.
Yeah.
No.
This when I was a kid in the 80s, this is the first time I ever noticed that, Joe might know. This is the first story that I was like, ooh.
Well, not only that, but as we'll get into it, I mean, so it's the middle of the night, and Robbie's reading the paper, watching TV, and then Mary Jane's at the door. It's like, so Mary Jane, what's wrong? Is something wrong with Peter? Mary Jane comes. She said, "Why did I come here? Because Joe Robertson's the editor of the Daily Bugle? Because he's known Peter for years? Because he's the man of intelligence and integrity? Or because?" And then Mary Jane bolts out the door, basically saying, "I'm sorry I came to you," and says, "I can't tell him. Even if he does know, I can't tell him." So what's interesting is that, a long-time reader has suspected that Robbie's known, but now Mary Jane thinks Robbie knows. Mary Jane has thought Robbie. And the thing is, I wonder if Peter thought it. No, Peter's always suspected it. Peter always wondered if Robbie had a handle on his secret identity, and I always thought Robbie figured it out. When Peter came back from the London trip in the 90s, when he went to go see Gwen, because if you remember, him and Captain Stacy, when Captain Stacy were alive, they used to get together and over coffee they'd discuss Spider-Man. And they'd wonder who Spider-Man was, and of course we know Captain Stacy found out, and obviously he wouldn't have told anybody.
The issue 90s, not the 1990s. Okay, I was confused a second. Okay, yeah.
But anyway, so Captain Stacy then dies, and Gwen goes overseas or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good starting point. I agree.
To live with Uncle Arthur, who is very old, very British sounding, nothing like Uncle Arthur who comes back after the Clone Saga
in the 90s,
and also important to note, not like Uncle Arthur from Bewitched.
No, that was of course the legendary Paul. So the center square of the Hollywood Square. So
the Great Ball Inn.
But then when Peter goes and takes pictures in London, he goes to London, and Robbie sent him there just to take pictures, a piece, and then of course, there's a terrorist, kidnaps somebody, and Spider-Man shows up. And so Peter takes pictures, brings them back, and Robbie starts looking at him, and then Robbie starts staring at him for a little bit too long. And he says, "Peter, you were very lucky to get these," and then Peter's thinking, "Oh my God."
Yep.
And Robbie just says, "Oh, they're really good. We'll buy them." Now, and I think that was when Robbie figured it out. And there were always hints then for years that he knew.
Probably to jump in there, JR, probably one of the biggest moments I felt like in rereading over the years, the Final Adventure storyline with during the Clone Saga, written by Fabian Netzia. He played that on very thick, that Robbie knew.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it was basically because Mary Jane, because Ken Ellis was going to come out with a story that said Peter Parker Spider-Man, and Mary Jane came to Robbie and said, "Look what's going to happen." And Robbie got the story, not only killed it at the Bugle, but got it killed everywhere else. And it was pretty obvious then that he knew, and Mary Jane came to him because she knew he knew. Right. But anyway, it's just kind of an interesting, little segue there, 2-page segue. A good moment for Mary Jane, and kind of a little bit for us fans who always kind of figured that Robbie had known. So we go back to Kraven's townhouse, and boy, he's lighting up a cigarette. He's kind of thinking, it's. He decides to. I'm trying to think of like famous cigarette smokers here on the podcast over the years, like George and the late Morbius, Kevin, the late Kevin Cushing.
He's not dead.
Famous cigarette smokers. But see, there's this rat in this cage. Okay, Kraven's got a rat in a cage, and he's kind of like the old joke where like you put your hands down and the knife.
Well, like in the first Aliens movie or Alien, I forget which one.
Yeah, Aliens, the sequel. Yeah. So anyway, he's doing that with this rat in this cage, and of course we keep going back and forth to vermin, and that rat is supposed to symbolize vermin, and so now Kraven is going to hunt vermin, but it looks like he's not going to dress as Spider-Man. He looks like he's going to strip down to nothing and go hunt vermin. Meanwhile, the spiders are now in mass crawling around Spider-Man's grave. Oh, actually, Kraven did dress as Spider-Man. Then he stood at his window in exhibition style, but then when he finally went out, he dressed as Spider-Man. Yeah. So he and Vermin, start fighting, and Vermin goes through all his angst. And of course, there's a lot of, there's several pages of very little dialogue, and it's full of all those words that Dark Mark, what's he call those, omnibuses or omnivertes or onomatopoeias. Yeah. So anyway, that's what happens in the next part of the story. J.D. Mateus obviously takes a break from writing the story. Says, Mike, you take the next few pages from here. So we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, this page 3 is grr, 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 splash. Shack.
This would be good for a Friday night fight.
Yeah, this is.
But it's not Spider-Man.
Yeah. this is what goes for storytelling here. Grr, 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 brack, slash, R, and so Kraven / Spider-Man defeats Vermin and rises up and says, "I am the Spider." Okay. More spiders on Spider-Man's grave. Kraven picks up Vermin and starts carrying him to the townhouse. And then it happens, folks.
Yeah.
The very last, come on. There we go. The very last page, the very last panel on the bottom of the page, a hand reaches up out of the dirt.
Like Evil Dead.
And you see the caption, you just see the caption, Mary Jane? And that, boys and girls,
my committed partner.
My committed partner. And that, boys and girls, is the end of part 3. That is the end of the first half of Kraven's Last Hunt.
Yep.
And that is Spider history for October.
You will have to tune in next month for the last 3 issues for November.
Yeah, if you want to find out what happens.
There you go.
Yeah.
This reminds me of when Quesada forced one more day on us. And all the hubbub, the brouhaha that erupted after that. And DeMatteis, because remember you had Quesada and other talking heads at Marvel parroting the same crap, the same talking points. Everything happened except that it's different. Everything still happened except for them being married. And J.M. DeMatteis very, very, pointedly said, there is no way Kraven's Last Hunt has the same impact if they're not married.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing I kept thinking about, knowing we were going to cover this, about how, you remember towards the end of the story, when Spider-Man's climbing up, as we'll cover next month, is climbing up out of the, trying to get out of the grave and everything. He's like, I have to keep going for my committed partner that I'm dating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't carry the same weight as I have to get out of here because I have a wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's also right, because you have to look at it too in the context of getting married, of the huge commitment that is. I mean, this is something that both Peter and Mary Jane have literally fled from.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Peter has always wanted to have somebody, but obviously being Spider-Man, he felt he could never have he just felt he never could have something like this. And Mary Jane, with her background, figured she could never have a happy ending because her mother didn't, her sister didn't, and so she didn't figure she could either. So this is just, it's like, this is a huge moment for them. And then for him to suddenly be stripped away at this time, just as they're starting. I mean, this probably literally happens after they come back from their honeymoon. Probably not long.
Yeah.
So to have them,
they just fought
apart,
the Puma.
yeah. Who is one of those guys who follows Spider-Man by smelling him. So they've been, literally as they're about to begin their new life together, they're ripped apart for 2 weeks. So there's a lot of, a lot of damage here, but a lot of, you understand why Peter claws his way out of the grave, why he does it for Mary Jane. I mean, it's just.
So, as we wrap up this month, is it a good month in Spider history, JR, after 3 issues?
Well, yes and no. Okay. I mean, you're going to find out. I mean, this is a very well crafted, well drawn story. Where and DeMatteis is addressing a very interesting a very interesting idea about what happened, the relationship that supervillains and superheroes eventually develop, and how the supervillain begins to almost define his very existence by the presence of the superhero. And see, Kraven has, I mean, basically for the last several years now, Kraven's existence has been defined by Spider-Man and the fact that he can't defeat Spider-Man. And he has essentially dehumanized Spider-Man during this time. This whole "I am the Spider" crap is part of his his belief that really Spider-Man cannot be a mere mortal man. That he has to be something supernatural or something to have defeated Kraven all this time. So for Kraven, to overcome that and defeat him, I mean, so once you see how that important that is, then the rest of the story makes sense in what Kraven does to himself later on. What I don't like, and I don't want to get, like I said, I've said it so often, it almost sounds like a parody, but the reason I don't want, like I said, Vermin is such a disgusting character. You're kind of, that to me throws me off already, because, and by putting him in the story, he fractures the narrative. The narrative is this longtime Spider-Man villain coming to grips with his relationship with Spider-Man. Spider-Man himself dealing with, he's had to deal with a lot of death. Spider-Man dealing with his own mortality in the midst of making this major change in his life. He's done the thing. He's made the commitment that he's always been afraid to make. And this, what happens now is literally the very reason he was afraid to make it. Yeah, because he was afraid of getting killed.
That's true.
And that happens to him. So we don't need anybody else in this narrative. So
Vermin is a distraction from
exactly. Vermin is a distraction to the story. He dilutes the main narrative, and again, like I said, by the fact that he acts so disgusting by killing and eating people, there's no. I mean, I have no empathy for him.
I agree that when people talk about Kraven's Last Hunt, they really don't mention Vermin. He was just kind of a side part mission of Kraven. To prove that he could be a mean Spider-Man or an evil Spider-Man.
And he becomes even more of a
superior Spider-Man. There you go.
Yeah. He becomes even more an important component in the second half.
Right.
So, it's and I made the comment about, like, because he deserves to die. I mean, this is why Norman Osborn got killed off. When you think about it, back in the early 70s, he killed Gwen Stacy. Norman Osborn could not have left that story alive. He couldn't have. I mean, I mean, as much as people, protested and didn't like and rose up at the death of Gwen Stacy, if Norman hadn't died, if Norman hadn't had what came to him at that time, I don't think people would like that either. It wouldn't have felt right. The story wouldn't have felt like it concluded. Bringing Norman back 20-something years later is a little bit different because, again, I think if you read some of the old interviews with the writers of that day, they just didn't feel the comics industry was going to last that much longer. Yeah. So they could do these kind of stories.
JR, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Would you, just devil's advocate here, would you have been the Norman Osborn fan, the Green Goblin fan that you are today, if after Norman Osborn had killed Gwen, he started to eat her?
Probably not.
Okay. I just wanted to know where your line on cannibalism was. If it was acceptable.
No, see, here's the thing. And I thought, here's the thing. Yeah, you're right. In fact, at the end of the Kraven story, we'll talk about a what if story. Here's the thing. I empathize with Norman in a way because Norman is he's a petty person. When you think about it, he's not this is why I hate the monster Green Goblin, the Hulk Goblin. But that's why I can't relate to somebody like Vermin or even Kraven. I mean, that's just but I kind of relate to Norman more because Norman is at the core a very small, petty, angry, bitter man. And that kind of villainy I can relate to, but not this kind of villainy. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I mean, again, you see a very finely crafted story, but you also see that there are some parts of it that don't work, and it's repetitive. I mean, I mean, DeMatteis, it's very repetitive. I mean, you think about this whole 6-part story probably could have been done in half the time. So, you know, you get the, hey, there we go. All right, I got one of them too. So there's a lot of repetition in this story.
I think
So,
to wrap up that comment, Enigma has it quite correctly. I'm putting it on the chat. The fuck, George. All right.
Look. Can I quote,
So,
can,
well,
I, can, I quote, can I just quote Kevin Bacon from JFK?
Yeah, go ahead.
People got to know.
Back and to the left.
okay.
What if we added
McNulty-
sauce?
McNulty, so here's a question for the panel. Instead of Vermin, which villain should have Kraven captured? I think, well, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I think I answered it. Nobody else was needed in this story.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, the narrative has now been fractured. So,
Yeah. All right. Tune in next month for the wrap up of Kraven's Last Hunt.
The rest of the story.
Okay, there's a pause. So YouTubers, we're gonna fast forward into November. That's the perk of watching these live streams. We're not gonna start a new feed, so
we'll do the
Enigma.
Scooby-Doo bleed.
Enigma, the fuck, JR. That was so
What if we added sauce?
I thought of you the other day.
Oh, that's so funny.
Brad, I thought of you the other day
Oh, what happened?
when I got.
Oh, is that the Hulk and Wolverine 2-pack?
Yes.
Oh, that's such a good looking Hulk. Pan down a little bit. Tilt down, I mean. Oh, I love the ripped shirt.
All I heard was Wolverine and 2-pack while I was looking away. And now in my head, I'm thinking Wolverine's out there trying to find 2-pack's killer to even the score.
You're up to 2-packs a day, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's Tupac.
It comes off so you can, yeah, but I mean,
I want to see you strip the doll on the cam.
Look at I love how that just fits on his shoulders. That's so neat.
yeah, it's legit, man.
That's a heavy duty Hulk. All right, we ready, JR?
Yes, we are.
Okay,
We're in November now.
Coming down 3, 2. Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to our November Spider History with JR. What's going on, JR?
Well, Halloween came and went, and went trick or treating, and got a lot of candy this year, and for the 25 pounds.
What'd you go as this year, JR? What
the 25 pounds that George's lost, he gave to me. So that's how.
What's your favorite Halloween candy, JR?
Three Musketeers bars.
Oh, there you go. I gotta go Snickers. George?
Probably Milky Way.
Okay. Zach, favorite candy? Halloween
Candy bar?
Sure. Halloween candy. What would you get in your bucket?
I like candy corn.
I do too.
I
like those little
don't get the
candy
hate.
pumpkins. Those candy corn
Yes.
pumpkins.
You guys
Yes.
are freaks.
Those are great.
But I mean, Snickers bar. You can't go wrong with a Snickers.
Oh, I know.
You can't go wrong with a Snickers bar. Snickers bar is good. Rolo, Twix,
Rolaids from when you eat too much candy afterwards.
Almond Joy.
Ooh, Almond Joy. Ooh, I like those. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good Almond Joy. What's the opposite of Almond Joy where there's no almond on it? Mounds. Yeah. I always get the Almond Joy every time.
Don't you remember the song? Almond Joy's got nuts. Mounds don't. Because sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't. Yeah. All right.
Reese's peanut butter cups. I agree with Nick.
So
I will jump naked on a pile of Reese's peanut butter cups.
This is how you start a podcast about
PG-13, folks. PG-13.
So if you tuned in
Speaking of naked.
Yeah, Kraven, there's your segue. So if you tuned in last month to Spider History, JR left on a cliffhanger. We've never had a cliffhanger Spider History, right?
That's true. We never have.
What the fuck?
So we're continuing our 2-month look at Kraven's Last Hunt. This, we're going to take a look at Web 32, JR. JMD Mateus is writing, and Mike Zeck is doing the art. One of the most iconic Spider-Man covers of all time is Part 4 Resurrection, with a black-suited Spider-Man coming out of the grave with "Here Lies the Spider on the Gravestone." And just a little intro to this I have prepared. So YouTubers, you can see this if you're listening on the audio version. Check out our YouTube channel. And just this year, Mike Zeck met an artist by the name of, I forget his name, but Riley Relics. He created this life-size statue of this famous iconic cover. And Mike Zeck saw this guy at a convention, and it's life-size. It's really cool.
Which one's Mike Zeck?
Mike Zeck is on the right in this picture. And
He's
Mike,
an old man.
Mike Zeck, so are you. So Mike Zeck autographed the life-size Spider-Man coming out of the grave. There he is, right there.
Freaking cool, man.
Isn't that awesome? That is such a cool looking statue. Have you guys seen this before?
No.
No, I haven't.
It's really beautiful. But anyway, I thought that would be neat to add to the video.
I wonder how long that took to make.
Oh my gosh, I have no concept of
cool.
how.
Yeah.
Okay, so Web 32, take me through it.
But anyway, no, I have to second Brad's. You know, when you think of classic Spider-Man covers,
Yeah.
this is one of them.
And it's in
Anyways.
Web of all places. Web is generally the B-list Spider-Man title.
Well, again,
It's the C list.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but again, that was what was so unique about this very story that's going on here, is that this one story is carrying through all the titles. So, anyway, the story opens. Speaking of, we have more
Real quick, JR, do you have the YouTube chat open? I'm getting some echo on you. The audio?
It's open, but I've got my speakers.
Everybody
muted.
got muted on the YouTube? Okay. All right. Anyway, I hear echo occasionally, but go ahead.
Anyway, so now we have more male nudity. We have Peter Parker. You can't say it, but anyway, so he's teeny tiny. He's in a fetal position, and obviously, I think there's probably some womb analogies going on here.
Oh,
but you know,
I'll
he's
show
saying,
it. There you go. That's what we're talking
there
about.
We go. Yeah. You know, warm, white, peaceful. Anyway, so then what happens is, that's what it says.
He's not making that up. It's
It's
actually
just the way JR says it.
Oh, I know. Okay, that is creepy. Can you imagine JR doing the audiobook? Warm,
White. Peaceful.
It's like he's selling.
Milk.
It sounds like he's selling like Orville Redenbacher's microwave popcorn, like Generation One at a porn theater.
Oscorn. And by the way, Enigma has the best comment: nuts, nudity, and candy bars. What are we doing here?
It's not like JR standing outside of like a Times Square peep show back in the 70s, trying to sell people Orville Redenbacher popcorn.
This is the crawl space version of Kraven's Last Hunt. That's what you get. You get
Enigma,
nuts,
nudity,
and candy bars.
What are we doing here? This is spider history. So, you know,
this is JR's segment, baby.
Yeah. So then the next page is Peter. You know, of course, Peter's sitting here naked, crying, and everything, and then he sees Ned Leeds. You know, hey, how you doing, pal? Of course, like I said, death has been hanging over this, and Ned's death has been hanging over this. But again, the problem I have here, Ned was never a close friend of Peter's.
No,
you know, so for Ned to say, how you doing, pal? And then Peter sees Ned, you know, his body crumble like a dead zombie or whatever. And again, I mean, you probably then have to look at it as a standalone, almost like a standalone graphic novel, as opposed to just another issue of Spider-Man. Yeah. So he's all broke up about Ned's death, but then we get more spider references. You know, he says, I am the, I mean, literally, I mean, he's, I am the spider. Okay. Spider, the am I. I mean, this is almost like Dr. Seuss, you know, I do not like green eggs and ham, you know, like I am the spider, the am I. You know, it's like,
I do not like Kraven's Last Hunt. I am JR. I am.
Exactly. But it's like literally, it's like Dr. Seuss. You know, Ned's dead.
We're gonna get a iTunes review. It says, "Man, the crawl space hates Kraven's Last Hunt." That just goes to show you how negative they are. JR doesn't like Kraven's Last Hunt. We all do.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so he's thinking everybody's dead. I'm dead. No, I am the Spider, immortal, imperishable, and then Mary Jane. So
somewhere Batman is face palming, says Enigma.
So he's, yeah, I am the night. I am. So how long have I been down here? I am the Spider. Is that who I really am? You know, I am. No, I am. Yes, of course, the Spider strong, fearless. The Spider can win. So, you know, and here we have these images of the Spider in this tunnel fighting these creepy crawly things or whatever. I am that weakling. No, that weakling, am that coward. I am the one who can die. I am Peter Parker. To me, this is gibberish. I mean, honest to God, this is gibberish. And then the Spider dies, and in a preview or in a foreshadowing of Spider-Man dying in a Paul Jenkins story and breaking out of the dead Spider's body, we have the Spider dying, and Peter Parker crawling out of the dead Spider's body.
Are we supposed to think this is a mental thing happening, or do you think this is actually a physical thing happening?
No, this is mental. I mean, he's crawling out of the grave, but this is what's going through his mind as he's crawling out of the grave.
Right.
But like I said, and I'm going to be free. You can't stop me. You can't keep me here. You murdered a mask, but you haven't murdered a man. And then of course we get Kraven. Now, Kraven's face is starting to, as Peter crawls out of the grave, mentally and psychologically crawling out of the grave. Then he's seeing Kraven more and more. Kraven says, "Come out so I can kill you." And I killed you, Spider. And, Peter's going, "There is no Spider. Mary Jane, I love you." Mary, what is it here? Oh yeah. Mary Jane, I love you, in one per panel. Okay. All right. A lot of angst, a lot of anger, a lot of crying, a lot of all that stuff. And then Spider-Man comes out. Mary Jane, he says, "I love you." This is pretty cool image, actually. Brad probably can do it better than I can.
Look at that thing. That is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Good image. It's a good image. So Spider-Man staggers to Kraven's townhouse, and he sees the papers laying on the floor, and he realizes that he has been out for 2 weeks. And he sees headlines, Spider-Man berserk.
Yeah.
And he, and then Kraven says he's out. Kraven's starting to, like boom. You can almost feel like doom during this whole thing, So then Spider-Man realizes he's been literally dead for 2 weeks. He's been gone. So he beats up all of Kraven's stuffed animals. Let's see what else. He jumps on Kraven's cronies. Look at them. They're terrified. They think I'm going to kill them, because after all, he is the Spider. But then he decides, I'm not going to kill them because I'll deal with Kraven, but not like a spider. Okay. So blah, blah, blah. Vermin is in a cage. And then we go to Mary Jane, and Mary Jane is, crying because obviously she thinks that something has happened to Peter, that Peter's dead. But then we see Peter thinking, "I love you, Mary Jane, more than I ever realized." And Peter comes home. He and Mary Jane get together. They kind of fade. And you know what's happening when they fade to the bottom?
They slide out of frame.
Yeah, they slide out of the picture, and then there's just a spider, and it says, "I love you." Which actually, this isn't bad.
Maurice's big.
Really, you don't. The only word of dialogue here is Mary Jane saying Peter, and this is a case where, again, you let the art do the storytelling.
Yeah,
it's a very, like I said, there's a lot of good stuff in here. This is a finely crafted story. But then, of course, Peter is, so Peter gets a good night's sleep and a good night of something else too, if you know what I mean. But he gets back up. Kraven's out there, Vermin's out there. He's got to take care of him. So he puts on the costume, and of course Kraven, he feels him. He doom, 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 doom. And so Spider-Man goes hunting Kraven. And then again we get more. Actually, I think we get this is a fairly well repeated image as well. I don't know, Brad, you can find this page here where Peter had just as Spider-Man jumps off. There's a panel of
I see
him
it.
and
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. That's another classic panel.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a very, very good. Again, no words are needed there.
Yeah.
So, but then again, we have 2 pages, no dialogue. Spider-Man confronts Kraven, and that's it. That's the end of part 4. Spider-Man getting in the townhouse and confronting Kraven. So you figure that an ass kicking is coming, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be coming. You know, it has to be.
But wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more. So we got to go to
part 4.
We got to go to part 5 called Thunder. Thunder. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, Thunder.
No.
Na-na-na-na. Come on, no AC/DC? Is it because Iron Man likes AC/DC,
No, it's
George?
because you're doing it.
Okay.
Question for JR. Should Venom have encountered Kraven in the Spidey suit since he was stalking Peter? Should Venom have encountered Kraven in the Spidey suit since he was stalking Peter?
Where do you see that question? I don't.
It's there at the bottom. It's
there it is.
2 or 3 down from Enigma's.
I got it.
Reese's,
I got it. It's on the screen.
Reese's Big Cups. Are you talking about Mary Jane?
No, stop.
No, I mean Enigma is just saying Reese's Big Cups. I just thought he was talking about Mary Jane.
We're still
Yes, he
talking.
was.
We're still talking about
Okay.
candy bars, evidently. All right, 10 minute 294.
I guess he should have, but JMD Mateus didn't consult with who was writing Amazing
Michelini.
Yeah, I guess he didn't consult with Michelini. So part 5, Thunder.
Thunder.
Okay, and now we start to get it. Now see here. Now we go again. The first panel, again, you know, a spider, a rat. You know, again, I was about to say, you know, hitting us in the face, bam, bam, bam. If you didn't, it's like, do you get it? Do you get the symbolism now? Bam, bam, bam. All right. So
Comics are a visual medium, JR. Come on.
well, I know that, but you know, there's a time where the point has been made. You know, but anyway, so now we start to realize that
Every issue, someone's first.
now we realize that Kraven has mommy issues in addition to his daddy issues. All right, you know, they said my mother was insane. So then, a woman of rare breeding, true nobility, and a tender heart, driven out of Russia by the Trotskys and Lenins, driven to America where she was overwhelmed by the poverty, the filth, the utter mundanity of life here. Finally locked away like an animal, trapped, abused, terrified. And my father, his spirit broken, allowed it. And I, just a child, could only watch, as helpless as she was. They said my mother was insane, that she took her own life. They lied. So her life was stolen from her, stolen by the spider. Okay, now we're getting a little bit too deep here because now we see that Kraven now the dark force. Kraven is assigning the spider to all the dark forces in his life. You know, again, it's like, but
You know what?
I guess
You know what's cool also visually about this book? I wonder if it would have the same effect if Spider-Man was in the red and blue suit. I just love the look of Zek doing the black suit. Kraven's wearing the black suit.
no, it's perfect.
It's not the symbiote. It's the Felicia Hardy Black Cat made black suit. But
well, I mean, Felicia hadn't made him by that. But remember, this is actually before issue 300. So Peter, that's right.
she made it. Yeah, she made it before 300. He gave up the suit post 300. Yeah.
So, but this is where Kraven realizes now when Spider-Man confronts him. Oh, I see now. I understand in a way I never could before. This costumed adventure called Spider-Man is just that, a man. So really, then so we get more Kraven's mommy issues and stuff like that. And Spider-Man starts beating the crap out of Kraven, but Kraven really he doesn't feel the need to fight anymore. Basically, it's like I've beat and then Kraven says I beat you. I just beat the crap out of me, kill me, whatever. I don't care. I made my point.
Yep.
I defeated you. I never could before. I defeated you now. Of course, then again, to be honest, I mean, you shoot the guy with a dart, to paralyze him. You don't fight him, mano a mano to the death. You drug him. So again, that's another thing. It's like what nobility, Kraven talks about nobility and everything like that.
Well, he's a hypocrite because he's a villain.
but then he but basically he beats his opponent by drugging him. Okay. Again, I mean, I get the idea that you had to replace the spider and things of that nature, but I mean, maybe he could have knocked Spidey unconscious or something with his bare hands or something. But so basically Kraven cheated. But anyway, I killed you, buried you, and after I killed you, I took your place. So in that way, I proved that I'm your superior.
Did he say superior?
Yep.
Oh.
And that in donning your costume, in replacing you, I proved myself in all ways your superior.
No, I'll be.
Okay, so then Kraven walks away, and he goes to the cage where he's got Vermin. So, yes, you're Vermin. Yes, your old foe, Vermin. Yeah, Vermin, an old foe that he's met exactly one time before. One time before, old foe. Okay. So Kraven, let's see here. So Kraven torments and tortures Vermin, and then lets him. Okay. Okay. Spider-Man and Kraven exchange a bunch of inanities, and then Kraven comes and he tenderly on Spider-Man's chin, kind of like you do to a kid or a girl or whatever. It's kind of creepy. It is absolutely creepy as F. And Kraven goes, "You recoil. Why? Does my affection embarrass you?" Okay, now we're getting into some weird undertones here. No, it's not quite like that. It's just that the game isn't quite done, not yet. So hang on a second. Let me go into my Indiana State Sycamore tumbler here.
What's in that?
Iced tea.
Whiskey. Whiskey and iced tea.
Iced tea. Okay, so Kraven.
By the way, McNulty says to JR, Kraven killing Spider-Man would have been too easy. The point was to show Spider-Man that he could if he wanted to. That's a good point. But
by drugging him, though, it's like, why not beat the crap out of him? I mean, that's the point. I mean, yeah, but Kraven cheated. I mean, it's like there is, as the Klingons would say, there was no honor. Kraven talks about honor, but
again, he's a hypocrite.
Nuts, nudity, candy bars, affection. What the hell are we doing here?
It's in the name Kraven. If the only way he can defeat his enemies is to cheat, he really is just a Kraven coward.
Oh, that's interesting.
Venkman.
Kraven. Deep thoughts by Venkman tonight.
Man, you are really.
I like that he's a Kraven coward. Yeah.
You are bringing the deep philosophical stuff today.
Well, it's a J.M. DeMatteis story. It's deep intellectual stuff.
And McNulty is using terms like thematically appropriate. Boy, you didn't hurt yourself saying that, did you, Mike? Wow, I know I would.
Now, he would have probably stumbled over saying that because, it's Mike. But,
but he is correct. It is thematically appropriate. The black suit is
perfect. It's perfect.
So anyway, Spider-Man and Venom fight. Spider-Man beats the crap out of Venom. Spider-Man beats the crap out of Vermin. He's taken out his frustrations with Kraven on Vermin. He shot me. He buried me. Do you know what that's like, you stupid, disgusting animal? So then then Spider-Man is distracted by Kraven, by rats. Vermin gets the upper hand, is about to kill Spider-Man. Kraven won't let him kill Spider-Man. Kraven says the point has been made. Your work is done. Go. He chases Vermin out. And then
Freudian slip.
Yeah, and then Spider-Man, Spider-Man's weak because he's, Vermin has scratched him and bit him and everything like that. So Kraven says, "Here, let me help you." And he helps him up the stairs. And Kraven says, "You're free. Go." And, basically Spider-Man says, "Well, F you."
He doesn't say that.
Well, I'm paraphrasing.
I know.
Basically he says, go, why should I leave while you merrily go along hunting and ruining lives, using people? And then Kraven says, after all these years, I'm a man of my word. And I give you my word, from this night forward, Kraven the Hunter will never hunt again. And then Spider-Man jumps out the window does his best Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back.
I'll be back.
So then we get probably, we start building up to one of the most classic scenes in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Kraven watches Spider-Man leave and go under the sewers. And we go back to Kraven's townhouse, the picture of Kraven and his family. Kraven goes to the coffin that where originally the Spider-Man costume was at the beginning of the story, and there's a rifle.
Yeah.
And basically, Kraven puts it in his mouth, pulls the trigger, and blows his brains out.
That was so graphic as a little kid. I was like, whoa!
That is probably something that in 1987 you did not expect to see in a Spider-Man comic book.
I know. And
approved by the Comics Code of Authority.
I know. And there's blood dripping down on Kraven's picture with his parents.
I mean,
there's dark.
And there's blood all over the coffin. I mean, there's no doubt as to what's happened.
He committed suicide. Man.
Yeah. So more so, and that's the end of the story. The final panel is a blood smeared picture of Kraven and his family. And that's the end of part 5.
What a cliffhanger that was! I could not wait to read the last chapter.
Well, the thing is, though, the most important thing in the story has happened. That's one thing. It's a great cliffhanger, but now we have another. This is another thing where an event of such significance has happened. It's almost like, where do you go from here? I mean, we've never seen. Have we ever seen this before in a Spider-Man comic book? A villain killing himself?
No.
I mean, we've seen villains jump off things and blow themselves up and stuff like that.
This was
definitive like this.
Exactly.
We've seen Spider-Man villains kill themselves in Daredevil comics.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, not
but
yet.
this one, there was no doubt he's dead. And what Doc Ock with the nuclear explosion, with the island that Aunt May had, he'll get better. This one, you actually see a body.
Well, even Norman in his although we saw Norman's body.
Well, that's true. That's true. But
but no, just this. I mean,
there was no doubt he's dead.
Yeah, and I mean, it was very graphic. And
no, Neil, we're not pressing F or anything.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, again, this is very unique. I mean, this is probably a first for this kind of Spider-Man comic.
The last chapter is called Ascending, Part 6. Peter Parker, 132. Yeah,
and then we go back to Spider-Man now. Instead of Peter Parker crawling out of the grave in the tunnel, or whatever, now it's Spider-Man. This is probably whereas prior it was in his mind. Now this is what he literally is doing. So he's basically saying, "I want to be home with my wife." Oh no, I want to be home with my partner.
Yeah, my girlfriend. Yeah,
my part. Yeah. So the next few things is him crawling out of the grave, crawling through the sewers, finding Vermin the Rat Man. And really, that's pretty well it. Actually, what's happening here, I was trying to think, we're doing more. Okay, these are flashbacks. But yeah, really, that's it. I mean, it's we have several pages of Spider-Man going after Vermin and running from rats. And and what happens is then we have the police finding Kraven's body. And in addition to finding Kraven's body, they find his confession where basically he clears Spider-Man of all the crimes that were committed by Kraven during this 2-week period. Because at this time, everybody thinks that Spider-Man has gone crazy and is a murderer. And so, in addition to leaving himself behind, letting him find his body, he leaves pictures that shows him clearly standing over Spider-Man, putting on a Spider-Man costume, and pretty well gives the cops all they need to clear Spider-Man. But here's the thing, folks. Spider-Man has been, for 2 weeks, Spider-Man has been thought to be a rampaging monster. Someone who has finally lost his grip on reality. Who's had this great power, who people have been afraid might be abusing this power, maybe who has finally gone off the edge. Whose voice is missing during this story? Whose voice is missing during this story?
I don't know.
What person has been making this point for years?
Oh, Jameson.
This is Jonah's greatest fear.
Oh, yeah.
This is why. See, here's the thing. This is what Jonah has always preached about. Okay, and everybody looked at Jonah as a lunatic, and Jonah kind of is a lunatic, but Jonah's fear was always that someone of Spider-Man's power would eventually lose his grip and would turn on society. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is what's happened these last 2 weeks. Jonah is nowhere in this story.
He isn't, is he? You had Robbie, but you didn't have Jonah.
Well, I mean, but you just had Robbie for a couple pages. So, and here's another thing, because as I was thinking, as I read the story again, because I had complained about Vermin fracturing the narrative. But the thing is, if you had put Jonah as a third part of this narrative, or as a part, a B plot, more or less, of Jonah seeing this happen, and Jonah, again, because the whole thing is Peter is thinking, well, am I a monster or a man? Am I the spider or the man? When he goes
a man or a Muppet? Yeah, wait a minute.
When he goes to Joey Face's funeral, he says, well, they see me as a monster. They don't see me as a man, and Kraven earlier sees Spider-Man as a monster, and then finally in part 5, he sees him as a man, not as a monster. Well, Jonah has always seen Spider-Man as a monster. Jonah's never seen Spider-Man. So again, it's like, here's a perfect part. Again, it would have fit completely within Spider-Man continuity. And I think could have been a compelling story. It could have been showing why Jonah thinks the way he does, fear, and why in the midst of all his mania and ranting and raving, there's always been an element of genuine, honest fear.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, beside the point. So Spider-Man and Vermin are fighting, fight. All kinds of, and again, there's all kinds of angsty stuff that they're thinking. What if let's see here, I'm not dead, but what if I am? What if it wasn't a drug and I never came up and I'm still down here? What if I'm dead? Yeah, again, this goes on for several pages. Then Vermin is, of course, he's now, you're not going to hurt me again. You're not going to hurt me again. I'm worried about people hurting me, but I go and I kidnap and kill and eat people or whatever. But poor me, I'm afraid of being hurt.
Yeah.
Honest to God. And now you're going to hurt me again. Well, you know what? You deserve to be hurt, you bastard. Gee whiz,
Wow.
So anyway, so Spider-Man, I don't know. He and Vermin get in a debate or whatever.
How much of a debate? Yeah.
Well,
good summation.
I mean, they're just going back and forth, and Spider-Man starts saying, listen, I don't want to hurt you. I want to stop your hurt. And Vermin goes, ooh, that would be nice. I want to take you up out of the darkness. No. Again, this goes on for several pages. Vermin then finally leaves the sewer, goes up to, Manhattan, but it's now light outside. It's not dark. He's completely overwhelmed. Spider-Man webs him up, and the guy is just whimpering like a pathetic puppy. Vermin, there's a man I'm going to call. His name's Reed Richards. If anybody can help you, he can.
Vermin takes Manhattan?
Yeah, Vermin takes Manhattan. Yep. And boy, the cops go, wow, heck of a thing he's done. After all Kraven did to him, he's still got it in him to look out for this murdering beast. In other words, Spider-Man is a sap.
No. So Spider-Man should have killed him? Should have got a gun out and killed Vermin?
Well, here's the thing.
Come on.
No, Spider-Man shouldn't kill. I don't want Spider-Man to kill. The Punisher kills. That's the Punisher.
You should have. He should have sent him over to Frank instead of Reed.
Here's the thing. I mean, literally, what happens is Spider-Man. After all this character has done, after all that's been done to him by Kraven, and after all Vermin has done to people, basically pats him on the head and says it's going to be all right. Treats him like a pet, a loved pet. It's like it's just. No. Spider-Man shouldn't take out a gun and blow his head off. But this is not.
So he wasn't responsible by giving him to Reed Richards?
Well, Reed doesn't care, obviously, because Vermin keeps coming back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I guess, but don't we know now that Reed is no longer the smartest person in the Marvel universe? It's Moon Girl or something.
Oh,
isn't that what's going on?
Frank, Amadeus Cho, Moon Girl, Reed Richards, Tony Stark, that's the top few. Anyway.
Well, okay. I was about to say all kinds of new characters are smarter than Reed Richards, a character who's been around for 60 years and who's the father figure of the Marvel universe. All of a sudden, we have these new young characters.
I know.
All right.
Amadeus Cho's not new, but
relatively new.
2000s. But anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, so after Spider-Man feels that it's good to be back, he goes back to Mary Jane. Mary Jane is, glad to see him. She's home. He's home. And of course, the last scene is Kraven being carried out in his casket, and this bald guy who has been digging a grave. At first, we thought the grave was being dug for Spider-Man, but actually, this guy has been digging Kraven's grave the whole time. And oops, hang on. And the final part of the story is the dirt is being shoveled on Kraven's grave. Spider, spider, burning bright in the forest of the night. What a mortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry. Mm-hmm. The end of Kraven's Last Hunt.
All right. Wind up. I want to hear what your grade is for this. One of the most classic Spider-Man stories of 50 years. JR, what is your grade for Kraven's Last Hunt?
And McNulty, you're right. I do hate The Child Within. You don't, McNulty, you haven't heard that? Everybody's heard that. Anyway, what grade do I give this?
Because it's an A almost universally from every.
I have to give it a C.
Oh, good God, man.
Look, come on. I've illustrated legitimate reasons why I thought this story failed.
In fairness, JR can only tell you what his opinion is, Brad, when you ask.
Oh, I understand. I just disagree with it so much I can't believe it.
No. I mean, he's absolutely 100% in the right to be wrong. We've seen it. We've seen it before with Secret Wars. How off base he is.
Yeah. Man. So,
but no,
the vermin part is your biggest complaint, and that knocks it down 2 letter grades. I suspect.
No, it's not just the vermin part. I've told you, the vermin serves no purpose in this narrative. He has no history with Spider-Man. He has no history with Kraven. Yeah. He's thrown in because DeMatteis created this character.
Yeah.
And DeMatteis has a thing for this character because he shows up he shows up in The Child Within. And he really doesn't belong in that story either because that's between Peter and Harry. Yeah. I mean, here is the most intense story in Peter and Harry's relationship and lives. And then Vermin gets thrown in, and it's a child abuse story because James DeMatteis wants to be woke before woke is woke. Okay. He wants to tell a child abuse story.
Now, in fairness, devil's advocate. All right. As bad of a character as Venom is.
Venom.
Vermin.
Because you don't like Venom either.
As bad of a character as Vermin is still a better character than Carly Cooper. Vermin is still better than Menace. Vermin.
Vermin. What the Vermin?
Vermin is still better than Freak.
I don't know.
Vermin is still better than Paper Doll.
Terry James wants to know if the lizard was used. Would it be better, JR?
But see, again, you guys are missing the point. I mean, this if you were going to have a third element to this story, it should have been Jonah.
It should have.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that idea. idea.
I mean,
but Kraven would hunt Jonah?
Who should Kraven have captured? The Vulture? No, Kraven shouldn't have captured anybody. This is between Kraven and Spider-Man. This story. I mean, basically, what DeMatteis has done, he's taken a character that was considered a joke. He's treated him with the most seriousness he's ever had. This story is between Kraven and Spider-Man. By throwing Vermin in here, I mean, or anybody, and what's the point? I mean, and you had Kraven literally blowing his. Hang on, I just want to make a point here. You have Kraven blowing his brains out at the end of part 5. Who gives a shit what happens in part 6? I mean, really, you've had one of the most graphic displays in a Spider-Man comic in ages. You've had a villain blow his brains out. And the next issue, we have this anticlimactic fight in a sewer. You've had your big moment. The rest of the story is like I said, who cares what happens? Because there's nothing going to top the end of part 5. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Wow.
But I mean, think about the story context for a second. He couldn't defeat Vermin by himself due to the nature of Marvel team up. So Kraven goes after the one villain that's fairly recent that Peter hadn't been able to defeat. It was showing his superiority over Peter Parker because he was able to defeat him all by himself, without having to have a Marvel team up situation. So I understand what your point is, JR, but I also, looking at the story as written, I think the whole reason for including a character like Vermin is to show, okay, not only did I beat you, I've proven that I'm superior to you by defeating a villain that you weren't able to beat by yourself.
And that's actually kind of ridiculous because he only faced Vermin once. And, right. After Spider-Man lost his first fight to Dr. Octopus, right? But then Spider-Man came back and beat him. Right. Spider-Man has lost plenty of fights, and then Spider-Man comes back and wins. So to have Vermin, Spider-Man, you've never beaten him. Well, you didn't beat him once in Marvel Team Up, but Spider-Man's history is that he comes back. He comes back, he bounces back from defeat, and he snatches victory from the jaws of defeat. So to use this brand new character, it's disingenuous. It's disingenuous. So, this is a character DeMatteis created and he likes. One of those things.
he wanted the royalty check. Okay, let's get it.
And there were times that, and honestly, I bet if you, maybe I'm wrong here, but I wonder if you go through every single story that Spider-Man fought Kraven, did Spider-Man win every single time? Maybe he did. I mean, they didn't overuse characters like they do now. And, usually when somebody went to jail, they were gone for 3 or 4 years before they came back. But, that doesn't work for me either. But again, you were talking about the importance of context. And that's what I said at the very beginning, is that I probably am short-sighted because I'm not looking in. This is a graphic novel. This is really a standalone graphic novel because J.M. DeMatteis then says in this interview, he didn't write Spider-Man again right away. In fact, when he was offered to write Spider-Man regularly, his thought was, I wrote my Spider-Man story. Mm-hmm. I felt I had done my Spider-Man story. So in a way, to be honest and to be fair, I should be looking at this as a standalone graphic novel. A writer wanted to examine, Spider-Man's relationships with one of his villains. So he told a standalone. That's why we never saw Joey Face, before, because we never saw him again. Spider-Man never referred to him again, but it's a standalone story that then got shoehorned into Spider-Man's continuity. So would you I do have to look at that context, I guess.
Would you call this the killing joke of Spider-Man then?
No, the killing joke of Spider-Man is Paul Jenkins' Green Goblin story.
What I mean by this is that Killing Joke was written to be a standalone story that wasn't tied to the continuity at large, but DC forced it to become part of the continuity in the same way.
Only up to a point. They still don't consider the Joker origin story. Last time I checked, anyway, they still don't consider the Joker origin story from that to be canon, which is screwed up because that's the best you're going to get, probably.
Right.
So I think we should wrap this episode up by the last. Go ahead.
No, I just want to address Neil's and McNulty's point, and it's a logical point. I mean, I would agree.
It shows. Neil says it shows Peter's humanity shining through over Kraven's animalistic ferocity, and that's what wins the fight in the end. And then McNulty says Part 5 is the climax of the story. Part 6 is the denouncement.
I understand that. That basically you have the big event, and then you have the epilogue, essentially.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, maybe this is not the right context, but I remember thinking the early Wrath of Khan drafts had Spock dying in the first half hour. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, you just tell a story. Spock dies in the first half hour. Who the hell cares what happens in the other hour and a half of the movie? Maybe it's not quite the analogy, but I guess what I'm saying is that the ending of Part 5 is so staggering that you really don't care what happens in Part 6. Right. Really, Part 5. Kraven should. I don't want to. It's there it is. Is my bit. Like I said, it's a finely crafted story. It was too long. too repetitive.
Yeah.
The narrative was fractured. Those are the reasons that
That is
I
JR's 2 cents. And I think it'd be perfect to wrap this episode up with this last comment in YouTube chat from our friend Enigma, who says JR could give a rat's ass about vermin. Heyo!
Dum, 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 dum,
There you go. All right. To hear other classics tarnished by JR, tune in every month for Spider History.
This is like JR's version of Fractured Fairy Tales.
I know.
Story time with JR.
You know that third little pig in the story really was a little bastard. Anyway, JR hates all classics.
Third little pig should have been eaten by the wolf.
Here, real quick, George, you give it an A. I give it an A. What's your biggest? Why is it such a Spider-Man classic?
Well, it can't. For me, I mean, and it's like I said last month. For me it works. With the Mary Jane aspect, also the fact that Kraven, up until this point, I mean, Kraven was an impotent villain.
Yeah.
He really was. He had the villain version of ED, I guess. Couldn't.
He's
I mean, Norman had gotten his victories in. Dr. Octopus had gotten his victories in. What did Kraven done? So, in that regard, it was like, well, and Kraven's twisted thinking, finally, well, what is there left to do? Take myself out. If I can't beat the guy, just I'm done. I don't know. It was a different Spider-Man story at the time.
Yeah. It
was a completely different kind of vibe. It was kind of a risk. The Venom part of it doesn't. I mean, Venom. The vermin part of it doesn't. Jarrell's right. It doesn't work. It's kind of just wedged in. But I just liked it overall. I mean, I always thought this was a good story. It was it was one of those deeper kind of things.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree. Peter's love for Mary Jane is what caused him to claw his. I mean, it's kind of funny though. He doesn't. It's funny. He doesn't think of Aunt May the entire time.
Yeah.
But
I hope not. He just got married to a hot redhead.
Yeah. That's true. But it is kind of funny though that Peter's in the grave. He's not thinking about Aunt May needing him like he does. I mean, again, which I think reinforces the fact that the story is really best looked at as a standalone story.
Symbio Bro says that JR hates all Spider-Man villains with the letter V.
Yeah, and McNulty's right. Also, the Mike Zeck art.
Yeah, it is
awesome. Really, just.
Zach, why do you think it's a classic Spider-Man story?
I think it's a classic Spider-Man story because it's probably the first time that we got almost a cinematic feel for a Spider-Man story. Not saying that there wasn't epic Spider-Man stories before this, but this was such a departure from the typical Spider-Man story that I think it stands out because of its unique nature. And the Zeck art is very, very cinematic. The fact that it was the first crossover story between 3 titles also gives it a highlight. And I just think that it just has that special feel. And I get that what JR is saying, that it should have been a standalone graphic novel, which probably should have been. But it gives that epic, concise storytelling that I just think that there's now, does it get a little overwrought? Perhaps. But there's a lot of layers to this story. There's a lot of onion peeling to the story. And up to this point, you don't have a psychological dissertation disguised as a Spider-Man story. The problem with DeMatteis sometimes is that everything's a psychological dissertation of Spider-Man characters, and everybody has daddy issues and mommy issues. I just think that the deconstruction of Kraven, basically, if you read the story, anything that's come afterward, including the Hunted storyline that we just had with Spencer, basically pales in comparison. You can't. Unfortunately, as great as it is to do a Kraven story, it's going to always be compared to this one.
Yeah, and DeMatteis even came back to it with Soul of the Hunter. I remember.
Yeah, and that one, if you want to talk about like a coda to this story, it's very well done, and it had Bob McLeod did the artwork for that. And if you've never read it,
I thought Zek did. Why did I not?
Oh no, it was Zek. It was Zek and McLeod.
Okay, yeah.
They did the artwork again, and it is probably the most criminally underrated.
Hey, you don't hear him talk about that one.
It's
JR, you're mentioning that what if? What was the what if was this story?
Yeah. Basically, they did a what if that Kraven really did kill Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That instead of just drugging him, he shot him dead. Well, then what happens is Mary Jane goes to Captain America, Daredevil, and Johnny Storm, saying that she's trying to find Spider-Man, but she doesn't say exactly why. So they all go looking for him, and they all encounter Kraven as Spider-Man, and they all realize that's not Spider-Man. And so then they all go to Mary Jane and said, you've got to tell us what's going on. And so Mary Jane says, I know that that's not Spider-Man because my husband is Peter Parker and Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And then they capture Kraven. They track Kraven down, and Kraven is eating Spider-Man's body. And it's like, again, it's just like, oh God. But so Kraven has the open casket, Captain America, Daredevil.
Yeah.
And Kraven is eating Spider-Man's body. Yeah. And then the story ends, because everyone believes Spider-Man committed. Actually, Kraven is captured and put in a loony bin, and he's absolutely completely out of his mind. So there's no confession or anything like that, or nobody believes him because he's crazy. So Mary Jane, they hold a press conference, and Mary Jane says that Peter was Spider-Man and Kraven faked it. Jonah goes berserk and runs up to the stage, and Johnny Storm slaps him down, and then all superheroes get banned. It's off the rails.
You got a good looking John Romita Jr. cover on the front of that, but once you get inside the interior, it goes like typical what if.
It escalates quickly and not good.
Oh, the who recently passed, Marie Severin, did the art, but that's just not Zach,
Yeah. So it's a dumb retelling of a story, and it's one of those things where you read it and you read, what, this is being gross for gross's sake. This is not telling a story. This is just being sick for sick's sake. Because because you can do it. But and this was also, I don't want to overstay my welcome here, but see, this is why I thought then people were obsessed with bringing Kraven back. Yeah. And it's like, and to me, this is...
Well, they've been obsessed with bringing Gwen back, too.
Yeah, I know. But see, here's the thing. It's like, but Kraven, you could even make a better a reason for Gwen to come back. Like with Norman, Norman had his heart pierced, but he came back. That's supervillain stuff. Doc Ock got blown up in a nuclear explosion. And came back. That's supervillain stuff.
Guy's neck broke.
Yeah.
Huh?
Guy's neck broke by Kane.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But Kraven killed himself. He it's like there's no coming back from that. And yet, and I think that's one thing that I don't know. I'm going to give Spencer the benefit of the doubt that Spencer realized it was wrong too.
Yeah.
And that's why he quote unquote re-killed him. And now the clone of him is back. But that's just, why do you do that? I just don't understand.
The clone is never as good as the original, right? Is that what you're saying?
So he's full of this.
Why do you do that? Why do you overturn that story by bringing him back? And anyway, it's like the way he went. So it's just
that was JR's thoughts on Kraven's Last Hunt. That is the wrap up.
All right.
Join us next month. No. Anyway, YouTubers, we're going to be back in about 10 minutes. We're going to do Friday Night Fights, 2 episodes, October and November. So stick around on our YouTube channel. We'll be back in 10 minutes. If you haven't subscribed, let me hit refresh. Since we started, have we gained a single subscriber? No, we have not. We are 11 away from 1,000.
If you like this video,
God
hit a like.
Almighty!
I know, jeez.
Wow.
By the way, I just noticed it. I showed it during the episode, JR. How insulting is it if Kraven's not wearing anything under that loincloth to Spider-Man? That's like right up in your business.
He's trying to teabag Spider-Man.
It's a good thing Spider-Man's dead.
Because he died looking at that.
The last thing
my
he sees
gosh.
jump.
Oh, talk about the last hunt. I mean, my God.
Oh no!
Oh man, that's just.
Ah.
I love John Romita Jr., but I mean, come on, that's
You
kind
know,
of.
this is one of those things where you go, where are the editors?
I mean,
Where are
that's
the
just
editors?
kind of awkward. Like Craven loves to run around naked, so why?
Well, this was
why?
before teabagging was a thing.
Oh, okay.
It was.
What a friend we have
I'm
in
in
Jesus.
Jesus. Oh, all right. So, everybody, we will be back in 10 minutes and we will wrap up with 2 Friday Night Fights. Stick around, everybody.
If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe so we can get some more subscribers.
Subscribe 1,000, please.
Because YouTube has changed its algorithm, which benefits the corporations. So,
All right. We'll be back. We'll be back.
Hey,
or you're going to send us a new.
I
link,
will.
right,
I
Brad?
will.
Okay.
Watch your Gmail. Yep.
All right.
All right. Be back in a sec. Bye.